Futures higher here to start things off this morning, looking pretty strong at this point. 0.5% to the upside for the Nasdaq, the S&P about the same. We are getting a little bit of follow through on some positivity coming from some Ukraine, Russia, U.S. talks moving in the right direction as far as peace is concerned, or potentially anyway. We still have a number of individual names to come this week on the earnings front as well. The big one coming up on next week, actually, NVIDIA. Everyone waiting for as far as semiconductors are concerned. We have strength in Chinese ADRs this morning, helping things out back to the upside. But overall, not too bad as far as what we had last week going into the weekend. Individual names leading the way. The market was higher at the end of the week last week, but I mean, I think there's still some question marks around this rally. Can we even call it that at this point?
We're really close to all-time highs again, Brendan.
Yeah.
So we'll have to continue to watch that. But lots to talk about. Chips in focus. Intel again in focus. It had its best week in 20 years, believe it or not, last week. It's up almost 5% again this morning on the back of talks that Broadcom wants to pick up its chip design business with Taiwan Semi, wanting to pick up the foundry business, the chip manufacturing business. So keep an eye out on that. SMCI as well, Brendo, up 6 3/4 as we get closer to that February 25th deadline that they were supposed to give us the results. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, a few days in a row here for SMCI, looking pretty good. MicroStrategy back to the upside here this morning as well. It's trying anyways. Not green yet, but on its way to being green. Crypto down a little bit. I was reading MicroStrategy did not buy or sell Bitcoin last week. So that's the first week in a long time they did nothing. So maybe a sign of a pause as far as the
name. Maybe changing some of the tactics.
Changing to strategy, change their actual strategy.
It's
I don't know.
Early.
Tons of snow still in Toronto, which means nothing's working, including the TTC, which means, well, Sean's off. Sean had a day off, but Obi's coming. Not here yet because the trains don't work because snow is here. I mean, it's Canada, right?
Everything works great here, Brendo. It's like there was this lady on television. I was telling the guys before the show. They interviewed like, oh, how do you feel about all this snow? She's like, it's Canada.
Yeah,
it
snow's here.
It's like, yeah, get real.
Somebody figured it out. Yeah. So Neil is solo right now. Hey, Neil.
Stop whining. We're good. I got Josh Allen next to me. See, look, Sean's good. No, we got Josh there. But what's up, everybody? First of all, I know like people are saying in the chat that there's going to be snow in Virginia Beach, like a foot of snow. I feel you. I can tell you right now, if you see bags under my eyes, I had a day yesterday, everybody. Okay, I was in Montreal, and we're coming back from a long weekend trip with my family, and we took the train. And our train was supposed to leave Montreal at 10:49 a.m. and get to Toronto at 4:16. We boarded the train about on time, at about 10:45. We got to Toronto at about 10:45. So I spent 12 hours on a VIA train, got home minutes to midnight, actually had to gun my way out of my driveway because I was about to get stuck because we were kind of plowed in and no one shoveled it. So it's been an eventful one, and it's going to be a fun one. But the thing that sticks out the most to me just now was Intel had its best week in 20 years. Oh, hold on a second. No. That wasn't a compliment. No, that's not a compliment. 20 years. See this? See these green candles to the right there? Or, yeah, it's to the right. Yeah, that's your best week in 20 years. That constitutes going from $19 to $25. It can't be right. It's only 30-something%. I mean, we've seen stocks do that in a day or two when they have a good one. So I think that speaks more to Intel than it speaks for the veracity of that move. That's for sure. Maybe Meta probably 21 days in a row at this point. I guess 20 so far. It's going to be an interesting one. As far as gap up names, you're paying attention to SMCI today, up 7%. It is through monster resistance at about 50 to 50.5 bucks on the daily chart. Trust me when I tell you this one is on one as well. So NVIDIA's up 2 points. There's a lot of strength early this morning, and we've got all the coffee. Oh, other thing, the new caterers in the building. So with new caterers in, and Sharif has already given them 2 thumbs up. I haven't had anything, but there's so much pastry in here. I actually feel bad because it's literally half of it's going to get thrown out. It's ridiculous. The amount of volume of food that they brought us is completely insane. I'm trying to stay disciplined with my coffee and my banana here. Let's go back to the desk so I can have some more Joe.
All right, Sharif and I were just talking about this Meta move. First of all, I wanted to mention this because we were talking about this going back a couple of weeks ago. It's official. Move over SPY, VOO, now #1 as far as market cap is concerned. Yeah, 631 billion versus 630. So it's officially a thing. I mean, that was probably a month ago we were talking about that, it feels like, at this point. But that happened pretty quick. I don't think anyone was expecting that. But here it is, 562 if you chart it this morning for VOO, the new king on the S&P 500 ETF scene.
Why not, Brendo? With the SPX, the ES, all trying to make all-time highs. I mean, you got to put your money somewhere in. Well, these ETFs obviously are a great place to look. We've seen obviously a lot of inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs as of late. Yeah, but the market awfully strong this week with a great recovery week last week. So we'll keep tabs on that. The NQ already up here, 0.4. The ES up 0.38. All 4 major averages, Brendo, all in green territory to start the morning here.
We were going to talk about Meta there for a second. Just reading a note on Tesla here. Tesla higher on the morning. Apparently, they've finalized locations for the new Delhi, Mumbai showrooms as they plan to start India sales, according to a quote-unquote source from Reuters. So, yeah, nice gap here. It's starting to head back up.
And we saw he met with Prime Minister Modi last week.
So that was quick.
Yeah, that was right. And it wasn't their first meeting. They met in New York last year, and Modi was very clear to Musk at the time, you want to sell in India, you're going to have to build in India. If you want to circumvent the major tariffs that they have there, Donald Trump didn't mince any words. He said India is a hard place to do business, obviously trying, informally to dissuade Musk from building his cars there. But I was reading this morning, Breno, they're already doing aggressive hiring. They haven't built anything yet, but they're looking to hire.
I was reading on the weekend as well. It was a massive investment going into AI specifically, the Grok side. There's a story on Grok this morning, but also robots. So, I mean, eventually those two things are just going to merge.
Oh, God, yeah.
Grok and Optimus. More to come on Tesla. Here's Meta, not really doing a heck of a lot, as we were saying, 740-ish, a bit of a level. That's where we ended the week last week. If you go out to a daily chart on Meta, you'll see what we're talking about. Shout out to eSignal. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you grab that QR code on screen. There's the daily chart, so zoom out a little bit and you get the picture here. It's just been up, and away for Meta. You just made a really good point. We were talking as Neil was finishing up his thoughts there on the hardware side of this business. A lot of money may be pouring into this in advance of that.
Mark Zuckerberg has always complained that he comes up with a great feature and then Apple or Android, depending on what app store he's trying to put it in, puts the kibosh in that deal. So he doesn't want to be beholden to these, these companies anymore. He wants to be able to create his apps his way and put them on his hardware. And that's kind of what he wants to focus on here with, obviously, the glasses being in focus. That's the new form factor that he's betting on. So that's number one. Number two, obviously, we got the TikTok tailwind still, right? We don't know what the hell is going to happen with this company. Is it going to be allowed to even be sold? If it gets sold, Brendo, does it get sold with the algorithm, which is obviously the bread and butter of the app? So much to talk about. So many different angles we don't know the answer to.
I was saying I don't use Instagram enough, clearly, to get the entire story as far as Meta is concerned. But no, I mean, it's a valid point. And as you said, there's still, 2 months or so, I want to say, left, if not more, as far as this TikTok deadline is concerned. Zuck's going to have to start thinking about a split here maybe for Meta shares as we get close to 750 here this morning, Neil.
I would it would be really cool just to see, get this past a quarter century, this streak, right? Because once you get to 25, I think it gets really fun here from Meta. You get into this whole guessing game, how far is it going to go, blah, blah, all that stuff. And what's cool about it is, actually, Meta has not done anything from a technical standpoint. The stock isn't doing anything crazy. It is, and I said this last week, it's the most boring 21-day streak that you're ever going to see, or 20-day streak that you're ever going to see. and especially in the last 7 or 8 sessions or so. Like effectively, we traded a range for half the time, and then you broke it out on Friday, which annoyingly meant that there wasn't the opportunity for the trade that I wanted to see. So here's what I'm looking for this afternoon. If you have a situation where Meta, like right now, it's basically flat, closes 736.67, so call it 737.5. If we're hanging around like 737, like right in here, and we get past 2 o'clock, I think that's where it gets really, really interesting. Because any break that goes from red to green, I'm going to want to take a shot at just to see if they can close it positive. But then it's the other side of the trade. The closer you get to the close, if it hasn't gone green, I think you got to almost look for like that little bit of a fade. It's like they're working. They do trade at a premium, but relatively speaking to some of the other Mag 7, it's really not that insane of a valuation for Meta. I just feel like how could anyone... Yeah, you're waiting for a pullback on this stock. Like it's 20 days up in a row. Like as a day trader, you can look for some opportunities and trades in there, like pull back into prior high. That's always a good one, like 727, 728. But I mean, like, is anyone rushing to put their money into a stock that's done this? I think there's probably a pullback coming, and that should be a good buying opportunity in there for Meta, which is, like I said, it's getting all of the juice. But it's not like the percentage move has been that ridiculous. I think that's the thing to keep in mind here. There have been stocks that are moving much more, like Palantir is much more volatile and has actually been making a more impressive run, but it doesn't have 21 days in a row. So people get wrapped up in that, and even we do as well. Fix the date in the in the stream because I saw some people pointing out that it said the 17th and today is the 18th. Blame that one on me. I did not catch it, but thank you guys for pointing it out. One other name in Mag 7 land, I will probably talk about this one in the rundown, but if we're going to mention things that have been sleepy in the Mag 7, well, Alphabet's trying to wake up. There's no 20 days in a row to the upside here, but this one, I love prior resistance turning into support, but or support turning into resistance, but the better thing is when it breaks it out. So if you look at Alphabet here, it's about 188, big support level for about a month or so. And look at that nice line of resistance. This week, I think we break 188, and we got a good rally if Google can do that. It's not imminent right now, but while everyone's looking at Meta, can it continue the streak? I feel like there's a few names in the Mag 7 that are going to get overlooked a bit while that happens.
Another one moving around here this morning in the pre-market, ACHR, Archer Aviation. I just went out to the daily chart here. This chart actually looks great. I haven't looked at this in a long time, but hold on. I'll zoom in here a little bit. Back above $10. If you remember, if you zoom out a long time, this was SPAC initially, so came to market at $10. It's been chopping around since then, curling back up. This is a Michael Noss looking special here. You could definitely put a happy face on the back of this thing. So they just picked up a, 141 certificate from the FAA. And that's going to allow them to open a pilot school, essentially, to develop a pipeline of pilots for this air taxi service that they want to get off the ground. So more positive news here for ACHR.
Absolutely, and we already saw that Joby got the deal in the UAE. So there is already some precedent here for this type of thing. So essentially what they're doing, Joby I'm talking about, you're going to be able to taxi, an air taxi using these eVTOLs from the airport to downtown. And apparently, with Dubai traffic, that takes about an hour and a half, depending on the situation that day, and that's going to be cut down to 10 minutes. So you can definitely see the utility, and especially a city like Toronto or New York or any of these other major hubs, definitely utilizing something
Yeah,
like this.
I mean, 100%. I mean, you and I have been talking about how it's faster to walk around downtown Toronto most days than it is any other form of transportation. When it's not 3 feet of snow outside, a bicycle is obviously better. That's their I don't even know what to call it, eVTOL, I guess, vehicle, flying type of vehicle. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. But I mean, this chart looks great. I haven't looked at this in a long time. Neil, any thoughts here, ACHR?
Well, that picture was that actually looked okay. I'm usually the person on the crew here that mentions that I don't ever need to be the first in anything, but I think there's a viable there's a viable business for these. We always talk about replacing helicopters for that kind of travel, but there's a little bit more that I think those can do. There's going to be a lot of applications that are going to work. At the end of the day, Archer is a good-looking chart on a breakout, and I feel like when I was going over things this morning, and a little bit on my 12-hour train ride, because quite frankly, there wasn't a heck of a lot else to do. One thing that I found was the amount of stocks, like someone just asked me about IBIT, I'm like, oh, it's range-bound, that have been range-bound. So it's either, if you're range-bound, you either give me a breakout or you play off of support or resistance level, right? So here with Archer, what you do at least have is a little bit of a mini break going. So it was range-bound, you've got the mini break going, you got the prior highs here. It's not super clean where this resistance was, like the support, but you're looking at 10 quarter or so, and there's room to the high. So with volume up this pre-market, I just look at that $10 level as a little bit of a go zone for us. And you want to be able to watch these small cappers, especially off the open. One thing I want to see is, do they respect VWAP if they're trending? And when you look at Friday, this really did sort of respect VWAP. Not to the penny, but pretty close. And it's got the same sort of pattern coming in here. False break at the open, but it was able to at least do VWAP for the rest of the day on a trend up. I think that's where you start. As long as it's over that 10 quarter area where we closed, I think you got to look for a little bit of a VWAP action there. By the way, Obi just sat down, so Obi's in the building, and Alex Karp is on that other station, so Palantir moving a little bit with Karp's talking on CNBC. Always a bit of a character. So the winter weather has been
some
nasty.
Some delays on transit. I would say. I think the train that I was on, first of all, kind of a mess. They were like, oh, we're gonna turn back from Eglinton, and I'm like, all right. By the time I get to Eglinton, it should clear up. We get there. When the door opens, he's like, stay on the train. I've just been told we're going all the way to Union. I'm like, all right, cool, blessed. Then on the way there, there's a couple more delays, transit changes and things like that. A lot of people, everyone's, but thankfully I made it, roughly on time. But yeah, hopefully everyone had a great weekend. But yeah, a lot of snow, crazy kind of weather. We got planes flipping, doing crazy things. You hear about that? I saw the video as well.
So I was
like, everyone was safe, thank God. But that's absolutely wild.
It was nuts. Yeah. So you don't know. But like I'm joking because you're talking about being delayed on a train.
Yeah.
I was on my Via train for 12 hours yesterday.
No.
Yeah. Even when we left Montreal.
Oh my.
So by the way, the other thing about my train, we left Montreal. We then went 1 kilometer out, then came back into the station to then pull another train. So it was like 2 delayed trains coming back to Toronto. So anyways,
12 hours. Well,
but everybody on the train at the same moment when that crash happened at Pearson, it's like everybody all of a sudden was just in our car. Like the whole car was just talking about it and videos, and everyone's like freaking out. It's I've never seen or heard anything like that. And when you see, what's scary to me about that is it looked at first like a normal landing. I didn't
even see I saw the aftermath.
There's a clip now where it doesn't. Like what I was expecting to see was, crazy wind shear, like as they're coming in, like one of those. That's not what it looked like at all. It looked like a completely normal landing up until the last second. Yeah, it's like.
Did it? I'm curious.
Thankfully,
did it
everyone's
flip
okay.
like this, or did it flip
no? It
like
just
sideways,
so basically they slammed on the ground.
Yeah.
And then broke the wings and then rolled over.
Oh.
So
okay.
I don't know if they were. You know what? I don't even know. I don't even want to speculate, but it's one of those videos
so
like
DAL on watch today.
I almost wish I didn't see it, but crazy, crazy. Ugh.
We're just keeping our eye on Palantir here, as you were saying. Alex Karp still on CNBC, talking about a book apparently. So just a heads up. All-time highs as of Friday, though, once again. What a chart this is for PLTR.
And I know this doesn't really have anything to do with Palantir, but I was watching an interview on the weekend with Palmer Luckey, These Neo Hawks, they're being called, Brendo, the Joe Lonsdales, the Palmer Luckies, obviously the Alex Karps. Fantastic look for them. No, there's nothing specific about this over here about them. But what I wanted to mention is the new type of technology that we're going to see from the likes of these guys. We've been watching, obviously, as some of the other defense stocks haven't done that well, but these are like the classical defense stocks, the $200 million F-35 or F-22. I think that's going to be strategically replaced by lower cost, mass produced type of new technology, and like that's what Palmer Luckey was talking about on the weekend. There, these kind of smart drones, Brendo, that we're seeing unfold in Europe right now.
And we saw him pick up that Microsoft contract last week from with the goggles. Anduril is his company picking up that Microsoft couldn't seem to make happen. And he swoops in and says we can get it done just like that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's the practical application of AI, like the battlefield application. It's not theoretical stuff that Microsoft's going to do and give you kind of a look on how the cloud's doing. No, it's actually all practical applications. So we'll have to see how it does.
Would love to see that company come to market at some point.
Absolutely.
No whisperings yet, though, I don't think, for Anduril. Joseph is in the building this morning. He's going to give us an options idea today.
Everyone, hope everyone had a good weekend, and that's what we're going to do here on Tuesdays. We're going to talk a little options here and see what the overall options market is doing. Last week we went over some volatility index, the VIX, which consists of S&P options. So what we're going to really elaborate on that here, and we're going to kind of get into the put to call ratio and how we can just gauge overall sentiment in the market. So as you can see, guys, we are on a steady incline. It looks like the market wants to break out, and we're touching near all-time highs. This is really, really important for options traders and even equities traders. But how can we gauge this from an options perspective? All right, so here what we'll do is we're going to look at the VIX. So as the market starts to ascend, you're going to see that inverse correlation once again in the VIX, okay? So now what can we do by utilizing a put to call ratio? Now, let's just understand the basics of a put to call ratio and how it actually works, okay? So, as you guys can see here, as the market declines, you're going to see a spike in the put to call ratio. And this is exactly what it means. So, on a decline with an average of 1.0, that's going to be our gauge here, okay? So when we are at 1, that means there's equally as many puts as calls being bought. That is not always the case here, okay? So on the declines is when that put to call ratio is going to start to increase. And what does that tell us? That traders are buying more puts and hedging possible positions more than they are buying calls. So what we can see here from a put to call standpoint, we head on a decline, and then that increase in the ratio is displayed, okay? So keep that in mind. So when we are descending, traders are going to be hedging positions via puts, and they're going to be buying those downside options, more puts, okay? So now as we're on the incline, you're going to see that put to call ratio decrease. So you're going to see that inverse correlation. So when the put to call ratio is on the decrease, so that means we are buying more calls, there's an also inverse correlation to the VIX, okay? So we're buying more calls in the put to call, so the market is on the rise, but traders are buying more puts in the VIX, okay? So we know that with increased volatility comes an increase in the VIX. You buy calls in the VIX. This isn't the case. You're always going to look at it from an inverse correlation standpoint, okay? So I mentioned here on declines, the put to call ratio heightens. You can see that the market is moving lower, put to call ratio increases and goes above 1. The market starts to move higher, the put to call ratio starts to decrease, and this tells us that more traders are buying calls than puts. Fairly simplistic, we don't want to overcomplicate this. So what can this tell us when we have a decrease in the put to call ratio? Is that traders are starting to buy more calls in the overall index, and with that comes a decrease in volatility. So now again, we've talked about the inverse correlation. So what can we do with this from a trade standpoint, okay? Well, we know that with heightened volatility, this is an option seller's market, okay? So we want to kind of just get the gauge of, is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? And as of right now, with the SPY approaching all-time highs and the VIX on the decline, okay, so more traders buying puts in the VIX, but more traders are buying calls in the overall index. And with that, we have the ability to buy options contracts at decreased premiums. And that's what we want to do when we are options buyers. We talk about this all the time, that we want that heightened volatility for option sellers. But as of right now, the VIX is on the decline. The put to call ratio is also on the decline. So what we want to do is we want to start putting money into the market. It is risk on, especially at these all-time highs. This is where you can establish those debit spreads. We are now moving from a credit-based trade to a debit-based trade because we expect that volatility to be cool. We don't want any massive spikes in it. And that we have the ability to just slowly climb higher and higher. So what do? We buy further dated options contracts to the top side. And again, this is how we can establish what kind of trading we're up to. It's either a heightened VIX, okay, maybe we're gonna look for a credit-based trade. And then if the VIX is on the decline, this is where we look for those debit-based trades in the overall market, guys. And I think that's exactly the type of scenario and sentiment that we are currently in. It is an options buyer's market, guys.
Great stuff. Thanks so much, Joe. PRFX, few people mentioning this one. Pain Reform popping up here. Just took out $5 at highs, 80% here. They're going to pick up Deep Solar. Terms not disclosed on that deal, but PRFX, this is known to run, let's just put it that way. One of your specialties here.
Oh, goodness. You got me all excited there. I was like, what? There's small cap gapper. Yeah, up 70%, Brendo. Several bull flags already breaking up over here. I'm seeing a float of around 2 million shares. Sometimes that information is a little bit lagging, so I'll have to compare it to what Trade Ideas and eSignal say on my computer. But you bet your bottom dollar, definitely going to be looking at this one. If it's above VWAP and above the pre-market high, once that How to Trade show during the midday starts, already dancing with 5 here, Brendo.
Coca-Cola, a little bit of a volume spike there. Did it actually do anything? Let's zoom in a little bit. There was a note on a prebiotic. Just announced a new prebiotic soda brand called Simply Pop. Yeah, there was volume that came in there. Looks like downside, so market not really liking that for Coke, under a little bit of pressure here. A couple minutes early, that's okay though. We got a lot to get through here. Let's have a look at the overall market.
All right, Brendo, 61.32. That's where we closed out on Friday. On the ES March contract, we're already well above that level to start the morning here, with the overnight high already above that 50-point level. The overnight high takes us to 61.57. As you can see, we're definitely dancing with that high that we put in on January 24th. So the deal is, if we continue to hold above 50, we're looking at 75.6175 as resistance. If we break down, we'll look to that quarter point level that was the low back on Friday, 61.25 as support.
If you haven't done so yet, make sure you jump down to the description of this video. Absolutely free resource for you. It comes to your inbox every single day for, as I mentioned, absolutely nothing. All you need is your email address. You get that. Has everything that's moving around in the pre-market and why on it, with charts showing the action too. Here's Intel this morning. Nice gap to the upside. Took out 25 early on. We're back below. Weird double graphic there, guys. 4.75 still holding nicely, though, higher, coming off a big flush on Friday. Broadcom and TSMC. The vultures are circling here, apparently, for Intel.
And this is not the first story. We've heard of Qualcomm. There were other people floated around, I think, late last year. This time, the deal is that Broadcom is interested in the chip design business. So Intel does both. They manufacture and they design. So they're looking for their chip design in their marketing business. And TSMC is interested in the foundry business, the manufacturing business. Should be noted, they are not working together. They are both discussing with Intel individually, and Broadcom will only be interested in picking up their design business if they can get somebody to pick up the manufacturing business as well. So here's the deal. Shareholder value was obviously at stake here, with the White House officials suggesting that the U.S. government is unlikely to support foreign control of Intel's manufacturing side because they did such a big effort to bring back an onshore chip production. So I have to keep an eye on that. And separately, they did get that $7.86 billion from the CHIPS Act by the Biden administration, which was finalized in November.
We'll see. I mean, nothing done deal as far as this goes yet. But just a heads up, Nike just popping up here. Nike teaming up with Kim Kardashian for Nike Skims. That's happening. We were going to talk about Nike anyways. Ackman getting even longer. We'll get to that in a second. But just coming through in front of me here, Nike teaming up with Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I heard your ears perk up there, Obi. Yeah, I guess we're going to get to Nike in a little bit here anyway, so we might as well just go back over to Intel. Look, I think if you were looking to like quickly ring the Reggie there, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Randy in the house. Randy, by the way, we have to have. So Randy was at the car show.
Oh, no way,
and
nice.
at some point today, I don't know, maybe in the afternoon. Yeah, maybe in the afternoon show. A lot of really cool updates from the car show. I don't want to spoil anything because I want to give you a chance to maybe show some of the pictures, talk about what you saw there because it looked really cool.
8 out of 10.
Okay.
Last year you said it was like
6.5.
Yeah, so last year was underwhelming. This year
It's on the rough.
Tesla looking good today. We'll see.
You saw
We'll see.
I'm going to assume you saw the new Tesla.
No, they didn't.
Oh, they didn't have the new.
No.
Okay, the new Model Y. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rivian was it?
Rivian.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
And the Lucid Gravity.
Polestar. Yeah.
Oh, that
and
one
Polestar.
looks really nice.
Gravity.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
boy. Oof.
Oh.
It looks. I think it looks beautiful. But
Well, we're gonna have Randy on, and
Yeah,
he'll
no,
go over that for sure.
so Intel.
Look, yeah, like if anybody that wanted to take profit here, I couldn't hate. In the short term, especially, look, it's bounced off the all-time low. It feels like we've obviously made a bit of a bottom here on Intel. And with this speculation, there's a lot that would have to happen for this kind of a deal. You're breaking up the company, okay, you'd still have some pieces left. There's just a lot of moving parts in here. But what I do like, at least for now, that 200 period that we rejected on Friday, and Friday was a rejection, no question about it. Like if you were going to survive Intel, you know, there was the fade at 25, which Obi, you held it. I basically was probably too bullish, and I got out of it in front of the pre-market lows. Was looking for a bounce. It did not come until we grabbed the 23s. If it can hold above that 50 period, 200 period on the daily, and that's back over 2480. I think there's enough wipeout that you could get one last little run. But that's going to be, like right now you're underneath it. It's feeling the same as it did on Friday when you look at the chart. But remember, it was buying into this for a fail. So that buying can come in and take out the top. Then I think you've rinsed enough that you can look for some longs up there. But you've got to be willing to understand what happened on Friday and that it was a short trade at the 25 level. So if you're looking longs and the buyers don't step up and we don't break out 25 quarter and we can't hold this 2480, I think you got to be really patient waiting back into the 23 area for Intel. Some people that didn't take profit on Friday might take a chance to do so here. I'm going to look for that breakout, but right now it's seeming a low probability as we're already fading 25.
Yeah, I think Intel's definitely a good one to keep on watch today. Definitely one of my top names. And yeah, I've been trading it a little bit of a dabble over the past couple of weeks. This is a weekly chart here. So why I liked it over the past couple of weeks is this is kind of a bit of a demand area. It's shown itself a little bit over and over again. You see August and July of last year. We kind of step up off of this 18.5 area in the past as well. A little bit of a support here. We did break out through some of these prices. prices in 2014 and 2015 as well, kind of holding as a base. So yeah, more of the same. We're seeing this year coming in to that 18.5 level, and we got that aggressive bid coming in last week. But yeah, no, that selling that happened on Friday, again, off of the 200 period, I think there was a lot of confluence for and reasons to sell up here after it kind of showed us. And yeah, that selling came in pretty aggressively. We got that, intraday news for a potential look from TSM here with a potential presidential seal as well, because Trump was like, oh, TSM, can you take a look at Intel? And TSM was like, oh, okay, would you look at that? And a bit of a gap up here today, 25s again, so interesting level at 25. There was a bit of a triple top here at 2480s last Thursday. Pre-market highs at 2434s, and then we failed aggressively. So we're coming back right into the same area today. So let's see if we get more of the same. Is there still supply in this area at the 25 level? That's the question that I'm asking, and I definitely agree with Neil. If we hold and sustain above that 25, oh boy, we are technically breaking out or looking like we're trying to break out of this consolidation. Prior highs coming in at 25 halves and 26 halves as well. So those are all prices I'll be watching. You can see a nice clean uptrend, but volatility on the horizon for sure.
All right, SMCI up next here at highs right now, 7.25% here already. We're through $50 this morning and no signs of returning. It was 5% to start. I mean, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row here to the upside. Quite the win streak for SMCI ahead of this report.
Good look, breaking that $50 level. I was looking right now, it was like 51 and change. So guys, it's up big here in the pre-market ahead of that February 25th annual filing deadline. It's been gaining momentum, and it's been an upbeat or based upon an upbeat for a full year 2026 revenue projection. There's some of the key growth drivers that they've got here, guys, are basically $40 billion they're gauging is what they're going to make in 2026 in revenue. That's a 70% increase from what they guided in 2025. It should be noted, guys, they missed Q2 earnings and they provided weaker than expected full year 2025 guidance, but that was overshadowed, but what they were going to make or potentially make in 2026. So we'll keep an eye out on that. They are still currently under investigation for accounting manipulation, sibling self-dealing, which is essentially a non-arm's length transaction, and sanction evasion, Brendo, as some of those GPUs seem to find their way to Singapore a lot, Brendo. I'm not sure what's going on
Don't
there.
worry about it. It's fine.
Too many questions.
It's fine.
I'm asking too much.
Here's the daily chart. Yeah, there it is. Back about 51 and change, as you were mentioning, trying to hold on that high basically right now. So you got to go all the way back to September, October of last year for levels here, guys.
And actually this morning when I was talking about SMCI, I said in the chat resistance at 50. What I was simply saying was that level that Brendan mentioned, prior resistance on the daily chart, over and over again at 50 to 50 and a half. Well, you've cleared that out. So we'll worry about the deadline when we get there, because obviously I wouldn't be bullish if they don't actually file. But you just got to look at what happened on Friday. It was a clean break, held VWAP like multiple times. I think I missed one of the longs off of VWAP at 45, 46 on Friday, but every other one was like golden. So I want to look for the same thing today. Respect VWAP, I like the 50 level for a pullback into prior resistance from that daily. As long as we're just sort of hanging out here, any dip into VWAP or any dip into 50, it's a pure continuation play long. You do run the concern of, hey, the stock has doubled in a couple of weeks here, and as the closer we get to the deadline without them filing, you start to think about the other side of the trade. Yep. So there's going to be profit takers and that but as long as you've got some levels to work off of here, I'm not fighting this stock under VWAP. If it's not trending, then I don't think you want to be messing around with this, because there is some downside risk here. But you can see it's a couple of days strong off that breakout, and as long as you're above the 50 level, I'm going to play the longs on SMCI. There's really no upside targets anymore, at least not till you get to, I think, close to the 60 level. So you're going to play it station to station. Every dollar counts. But first dip we'll be looking at, I'll look at the 3-minute chart so you guys can see. VWAP sits at about 50 and a half, and I like that 50 support. So we're going to be looking for the long off the open there.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. But something that's slightly of concern to me. Just I want to see that level kind of pass. And we are kind of breaking through this consolidation. This prior high right here from October, from the middle of October, is I think 50-60. Yeah, 50-61, and a bit of a downtrend. So we are trying to revert it, and you can see right here. If I pull up some of my charting here, we can get rid of some of these. But you can see this dominant kind of a downtrend. And in the pre-market, we're already attempting to push a little bit through that level. So I think that the long is even better if we can push through this kind of a downtrend, pull back in, and maybe hold some support. You have that $50 level as well. 50 have consolidation highs as well. So some confluence there for a potential bid to show up. But yeah, this is going to be very interesting to see what SMCI does in and around some of this area. Are we going to hold the trend to the downside, or are we finally going to break? Something else to notice is that there was a little bit of trend acceleration as well, which we did already break, and we're getting some expanding volume going into a push of the higher frame trend here on SMCI. So that's what I'll be watching here, looking for that continuation. Now this is a weekly chart. Again, going down to the 15-minute, you can already see that we are trending up higher, continuing that action that we had coming in both on Thursday and Friday. Very, very strong closes on both days. Let's see if we get more of the same today, but I'll be watching this 50 to 53 some of these prices to see if we actually sustain on the bid. Are there buyers on VWAP? Are there buyers on moving averages? Are there buyers holding above prior consolidation structures? That's the question I'll be asking on SMCI today. Let's see if we get a strong continuation. One more week, you said, or 2 more weeks?
It's a week today is the deadline.
A week today is the deadline, so that's going to be interesting. I think definitely another one to watch out for some strong volatility.
Nike here, back to 2%. We're still trying to get higher. Just got back above 74.40. If you missed it, again, this is the headline this morning, or one of the headlines. Nike teaming up with Kim Kardashian. Nike Skims going to be a thing on a brand partnership deal. William Ackman, according to Reuters this morning, getting even longer, if that's possible, in Nike shares over the past couple of weeks as well.
He's a fan, Brendo. Yeah. He's a fan. He keeps adding into this. So let's talk about this Nike Skims headline. So it's going to be apparel, footwear, and accessories designed specifically for women. It's going to debut initially in the U.S. at retail locations and Nike Online. Then you'll have a global expansion take place in 26, and then it'll find its way onto some of the wholesalers like Dick's Sporting Goods and on this side of the border, Sports Check and stuff like that. Good look here, because we know that Skims, Kim Kardashian Skims are popular with women, so we'll have to see if it can find its way into the athleisure, sportswear, whatever they're calling it these days.
Yeah, tough sector. Aloe now, there's Lululemon. I mean, it's a lot of competitions, but here we go, 74.50 just getting taken out here for Nike at the highs, guys.
Something to prove today, at least, because you've been tricked before. If you've bought like the last couple of bounces here on Nike, which is obvious when you look at the chart here. If you can hold the 50 period, that's a good step. But it's done it several times before. It's held a 50 period moving average only to revert back in. I mean, Nike has been bleeding for quite some time. When you zoom the chart out a little bit further, it does look like you've made at least attempting to make a temporary bottom. And this is not the same thing as Intel, obviously, but when you look at both of these charts, it's almost like you've gotten to $70 here, and the selling is abated a little bit. You've got some buying support. So you get some big whales that are probably taking some shots, and we now know, obviously, Ackman likes it at the 70 level, and you're going to get these buys. But you still have to take out the top. For me, when I zoom out and look at that 200 period moving average, which is the one that's being respected right now? Which major moving average should you be looking at if you're swinging or considering the long-term trend of Nike? It's obviously not the 50, and to me, it's the 200. So I think if you can get and hold above the 80, or 80 to 80, 81, that looks a heck of a lot better. It needs to prove something today to get past that 75, but that 200 period has been respected for so long that this is the one that's got to go for it to be a bit of a breakout. Just one note before I throw to Obi here. Looks like Palantir just broke another fresh high. Remember Alex Karp was talking on CNBC. Another couple of points. Palantir.
That thing's running, man.
Waiting for nobody. Nope. See, this is one. Look at that double top. You know the resistance that was there at the 120 because we were trading it to the long side in the morning on Friday, both Sean and myself. Well, we've gotten a little farther away from this bid. I'm not sure I can look at 120 anymore. I'd probably start thinking you have to hold the actual top here, 120.50, 120.60, where VWAP is sitting as a Palantir. Another one. It just keeps on going and going and going.
Yeah, no, that absolutely wild. That one on price action. Gonna have that one on watch as well. But yeah, Nike, a little bit of an interesting move here. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of a seal from Ackman once again. But yeah, some strong relative volume happening here on February the 7th as it flushed down below that $70 level and finally kind of caught a bid. It's been catching a bid since February 10th. You can see that break of that downtrend here happening on February 10th. And since then, we've been making higher highs and higher lows on Nike, stepping back above that $70 level now, poised to test this 75. Let's see if that 75 kind of comes in. So what I'll be watching for once again is that where was aggressive selling last time we were at these prices? So you can see right here on Thursday, the Thursday coming into that Friday where we had the strong relative volume, you had an aggressive sell. I don't know what the ATR off the top of my head is, but right here, it does about almost a 5% drop from the highs to the lows, closing near, and this is kind of showing us where supply might be sitting if it's still there, right? So these levels I'll be watching for sure on Nike. 75, can you hold and reclaim a little bit higher? 76s, 77s. I don't know if we're going to get that far up today. But again, catalyst driven, it's already showing some of that strength in the pre-market session, or pushing up from 73s all the way to 74.50s currently. Let's see if some of this trend continues to the upside. But yeah, we do have a little bit of some obstacles along the way. Some of these prices may serve as some resistance, but we'll have an eye on it. We'll see if Nike will just do it.
Boom. Feeling that.
DJT with not a great report here. Downside this morning, just going through some of the numbers for Trump Media. I missed this back on Friday, but that Bitcoin ETF announcement as well coming through from Trump Media. But not good here on really any metric as far as this report is concerned.
No, they made less money in 24, Brendo, than they made in 23. So let's talk about it. So they made about $3.6 million in total revenue for the entire year of 2024. That was down from $4.1 million that they made the entire year in 2023. They're trying to blame it on a change in the terms of a deal with an advertising partner. They're also saying that they're testing new advertising initiatives on the Truth Social platform. But the honest thing is, not a lot of people are on this. Donald Trump is trying to use it exclusively as one of his outlets that he posts a lot of stuff on, but all that happens is it's copied and pasted on X. So I don't know how much that's going to really persuade people to get on it.
It's not. Let's just put it that way. Just watching Netflix here as well, there's a note. Yipit Data, which I've never heard of before, so take this for what it's worth, reportedly has cautious comments on Netflix, noting that business performance across all geographies is tracking below expectations currently. So a little downtick there for Netflix. I mean, $1,000 stock.
It's very interesting.
Haters. DJT hard pass. And I'll show you guys Rumble in a second. I think maybe if you're looking for something active in the space, maybe go look at that stock. A lot of times we'll talk about accumulation. You know, when a stock just goes sideways, you're like, oh yeah, someone's accumulating this, it's gonna go. What you'd like to see is some actual volume while that's happening. And when you report and you don't move and you haven't moved, I think the good thing about the market is you don't have to take a position in something. You're never forced to get in. If this flat bottom breaks underneath $29, I think there's a trade. If this breaks out 33, I think there's a trade. Right now, I don't think it's doing much of anything. And as I mentioned, I feel like we get Rumble headlines every other day. Yep. This one, much more volatility if you're looking for a trading vehicle. It's got a nice bounce off the 10 level, which has now happened a couple times. I think what could be a little more interesting is if it can chew through this 14 supply zone. It doesn't have much of a catalyst today either, but at least this has been moving. And if you were to get one of those squeeze type days, it's something that you could join into. As far as DJT goes, when you see that kind of sideways action, unless you have a very firm grasp on where you think it's headed for some fundamental reason, why would you be buying in there? As a trader, we get to take it if it flat bottom breaks. We get to take it if it breaks out. We get to sit and just watch it or not watch it at all when it does nothing. So set an alert, 29 goes. I think you can short that on DJT. Otherwise, look elsewhere because there's plenty moving in this market right now. Volatility is at relative highs if you're looking at individual stocks. The stock picker's market, and you got to pick the ones that are going.
Yeah, I think DJT a little bit of a dud here. Kind of holding on to this base at that $30 level. And something interesting, Neil. Inauguration was January 20th, if I remember correctly.
You
right?
remember correctly, Mike.
So I remember distinctly that I threw up an anchored VWAP on the first trading day when we got in after the inauguration. There it is, 21st of January. You can see that we did kind of get some volatility. I don't know what this catalyst was on the 29th, but it doesn't really matter. We pull up into some of those prices and we hold as resistance. And currently we're just consolidating into this, as Sharif would like to call, a flat bottom on top of that $30 area. So not really doing too much right now. I don't know what the relative volume has been like here, but yeah, average 30-day volume about 10 million. So not too bad, not too shabby there in terms of the amount of volume it does. But in terms of opportunity and volatility, I think we can definitely look other places. But yeah, with their earnings kind of coming in, hasn't really done too much of a move. But if it can get below this $30 mark and maybe even this 29.15 level here, then maybe we get some a little bit of extension to the downside here. That's the only thing I can really see that stands out right away for this one. But yeah, if we break this trend and reclaim this 32.33 with any sort of catalyst or volume or whatever it is, then maybe it can be a little bit more interesting here on DJT. But other than that, I got nothing else for this one.
Not creepy at all. No. We were just talking about AI here. Elon unleashing Grok 3 Sunday night. And there was a couple of notes over the weekend talking about a quote-unquote, massive investment into robotics, specifically Optimus. And I mean, at some point we were saying like these two worlds will combine and we'll have Optimus with Grok attached to it. As we learned earlier, Randy was at the auto show here in Toronto over the weekend, had a whole bunch of opinions on Lucid, on Polestar, on some of the other EVs, specifically the $150,000 Escalade that was the electric Escalade that was at the show as well. So we'll get Randy on today and talk a little bit about the EV side of things. Tesla, I didn't even ask him, but I don't think he had any opinion on Tesla. We'll get his thoughts, though, into maybe the afternoon. But yeah, Grok 3 is now live if you want to go play around with it.
Yeah, so apparently it's pretty good, Brendo. So it's claiming that it outperforms the models by OpenAI and DeepSeek. Elon said it's scary smart because it reflects on its mistakes for better logical consistency. So we'll have to see exactly how that all does. It's going to be available for Premium X subscribers starting today, Tuesday. So we'll have a review for you shortly. So some of the things that it's quite good at, that it's higher ratings than competitors when it's tested on math, reading, and science. We know that Elon's got that Colossus supercomputer that has about 100,000 NVIDIA H100s strung together. That's now doubled, believe it or not, and that's what's powering this new Grok 3. So he's got 200,000 of these things strung together, and they're coherent. So the latency between the networking issue was figured out. That's how he was able to string 100,000 of them together, and we reported on this with Jensen being so impressed he had to fly out there to see it for himself.
First off, definitely for NVIDIA, I was just reading through this as well. Stanley Druckenmiller getting rid of all of his Broadcom, all of it. And that comes after he sold all of his NVIDIA shares as well and has now gone all in on Tesla and picked up more Amazon as well. So tides are shifting a little bit here, I think, on the AI side of things.
Absolutely.
400, like that's more than viable.
See, the plans getting discussed. We're basically looking at the same thing here on Tesla. Yeah. First of all, I wouldn't mind if you could unleash Grok to ensure that when you board people on a train from Montreal to Toronto, to make sure that there's an engine on the train, because it's crazy.
Wait, there was no engine on the train?
Oh, yeah. We got on the train, and they're like, this train has no engine, so we're waiting for an engine to come in.
Oh, okay, because it'll like okay. I see.
Because
Yeah,
like trains require engines to pull them.
right.
Which they didn't really figure out. Maybe AI could figure that. Shout out to Via Rail. And thank goodness they had the Caesars flowing and.
Okay, nice.
Yes,
So,
yeah. It didn't matter what
I mean,
time.
at least they compensated.
It didn't matter what time it was in the morning. We're all very excited for those Caesars yesterday. Look, Tesla, we were just sort of talking about liking this 350, the fact that it's holding. Momentum is a fun thing in the markets, and when Tesla lost it, you saw the acceleration, like when it lost that 400 level, the 50 period, you could see the momentum really shift. A couple of days of a bounce, and I think a consolidation day on Friday, at least. Okay, it's not fair to call it a consolidation day. It was a pullback day on Friday, but pullback that held the 350 area. Yeah, it got to 48, but you effectively held the 350 and bounced from it. So you put in the higher low. There's your V. There's your higher low. There's our breakout. It's like 363.5 today. I think I wrote 363 in my note, but that's a distinction without a difference. I think you break that out. I'm not saying you get to 400 today, but there's room to that 400 level. And first step would be to pull it into this 375. So I'm looking to shoot that breakout here on Tesla today. I know it's not a huge catalyst or anything. What does Grok have specifically? I know it's going to be in Teslas and all that, but it doesn't matter. It's a setup that we like in general. If we don't actually make that breakout, let's just say we never get there. I think you got to look back into this 348 to 350. If you can hold that a third time, look for a bit of a reversion as well. So Tesla kind of diddling in the middle. So I doubt, I'm not trading it outside of those two levels. We'll just have to wait for it to either break out that top or maybe get into that support level. And let me just move. It's like 925 right now, so let me just double check what we got going on with the imbalances because, Rivian is a sell of 3.5 million already with Archer, as Brendan already pointed out, 1.3 million to the buy side, CNSP 1.1 million, that's a penny stock. You've got NVIDIA with $1 million to the sell side as well. So a few big ones, SOUN, 600,000 to the sell side. But that Rivian, yeah, that's a big one. $3.5 million to the sell side for Rivian. It's been doing pretty good.
Yeah, no, I like the look on Tesla. We were just talking about how well it reclaimed that 350 last week, and a bit of a downtrend break as well. You can see right here. Just I don't even have to draw a trend line. You can see that we were aggressively selling off since the beginning of February. You can see aggressive selling off of that 420 level, back below 400, back below 350, and then all the way down to a low of 320.07 that we hit last week on Wednesday in the pre-market. But since then, since we hit that low, we've been bidding up. We've reclaimed that 350. We've held that 350 not only at the end of day consolidation lows on Thursday, but day lows on Friday. So a little bit of a step up there. Let's see if we can continue to hold that 350 in a distinct way and continue to push back up towards that 400. And I was showing Neil a little bit of this anchor that I've going on. Now, I know there's a lot of lines on this chart, but I just want to focus on this dark black anchored VWAP, which is anchored to the highs. So you can see that anchored to the highs. We kind of have been reverting back into it. And if we've broken this downtrend that I was talking about, that was for pretty much the first half of the month, the current month, let's see if we revert back up to this 400 mark where that anchored is sitting at. I think we're kind of poised there. If we do hold higher and higher, that 350 hold currently is a little bit of confluence, and if we hold a little bit higher as well off of some of these levels, then I think, yeah, we can look for a move back towards that anchored for maybe a bit of reversion, but that 350 definitely going to be a key over-under for me on Tesla, Neil. So definitely a lot of things to watch on the day today. We got a few, not too many crazy earnings names just yet. I know we're waiting for that NVIDIA next week.
Yeah, NVIDIA next week is going to be awesome.
Yeah, NVIDIA next week. That's what we're anticipating as well. We got MSCI at the end of the month as well. So a lot of things to be patient for. As again, I was reading this thing over the weekend. Some of the most money is made sitting on your hands and being patient. That's where probably most of the money. Yeah, and waiting for the opportunity. And
flat is a position.
Exactly. So I'll try to do that as best as I can on the intraday scale as well today. So I got a few names on watch. I got Intel, I got AMAT, I got T-Mobile. T-Mobile's been hella strong. I don't know if you've had eyes on T-Mobile. I got P&G, Procter Gamble, sold off aggressively last week.
They got beat up.
Sorry? Yeah, they got beat up. I got Delta as well on watch. And Novo. I don't know if you've seen Novo on the monthly. NVO's been, oh boy.
That's an
little
old
bit of
boy for sure. Just
Yeah.
one quick update. We got 90 seconds to go. I'm going to get to NVIDIA in a quick second. But that Rivian has paired off. So you no longer see Rivian out there on the imbalance locator. Alibaba is now a buy of 500,000. But Rivian, this was the move to the downside. Rivian pulling back a little bit off that $14 level. Wanted to make sure we touched on NVIDIA. Oh, I got a little dark pool wick in there. Prior highs 139 on NVIDIA. So that gives you a little bit of a dip. That's a little too far for me to look at. But the continuation play, I look at the 140 level for NVIDIA. It's above the 50 period. It's been stair-step to the upside. In the other direction on the chips, however, it's finally happened. AMD has decided that it's going to try to collide with this since October downward sloping trend line. It's under the 50 period, but this resistance is now the top of the line here. If it gets through 115, it's technically breaking out of a channel since October. First thing first, if it fails this double top breakout, it's a reversion short. If we break 115, that's a heck of a lot of juice that AMD has got above that trend line, at least until the 120 level. So it's taken a while to get there, but we're there now. The other name obviously in the chip space that we're looking at, we already talked about Intel a couple times, SMCI, above that big level 50. Can it bounce off the open? I'm not bidding there. I mean, we'll probably get on the bid here shortly after the open, looking for that 50 hold on SMCI. Intel can't seem to hold the $25 level, and the market really starting to come in. So patience is going to matter on this Tuesday. I almost said Monday. Let's ring it in 2 and 1, Adara. Tuesday, because it's a holiday shortened week, everybody.
Yep.
So let's be a little bit patient this morning. Intel still looking relatively weak. SMCI not waiting even a heartbeat as SMCI just flew to $52. I got NVIDIA making a big power move, but going in the other direction is Tesla. Tesla heading deep to the downside, down to 355. Remember, that 350 level was where things started to hold on Friday. So a lot of patience required if it's going to get down there. That's the only place I'm looking for a bounce. Obviously, the breakout's not happening now, will we?
Yeah, I'm patiently waiting. I'm watching this market seemingly tanking right before the open, so it should be interesting here. Apple, pretty strong. 245s coming in on Apple. So Apple's the only one, I guess, the apple of my eye right now. I'm currently watching it doing something distinctly different from the rest of the market here. But NVIDIA as well. NVIDIA's pushing up through that 142. So that thing is more than willing to continue the trend that we had coming in last week as well. Again, strong action on Thursday and Friday, kind of a push up there. So yeah, I'm just going to stay patient a little bit. I've asked you guys what your top ideas in the chat are. So throw it up in the chat. We can take a look at some of those levels as well. Something interesting, Neil, this morning was I observed both the Spider and the VIX gapping up. So I was like, all right, well, something's up here. Something's gotta happen, and I don't know if this is why, but a little bit of a push here. Oh boy, there goes Intel. There's an aggressive bid right into the $25 level here. So let's see what it does with that 25. I'm going to be patient. I want to see how participants act in and around prior day's high in order for me to make the next decision. But with the market tanking aggressively and Intel looking a little bit different, I'm going to keep my hands off the keyboard just now. But something else, Neil, that we do have to keep an eye on is TSM. Right? TSM had that aggressive move prior day here. We can take a quick look at that TSM and see what's up and what's happening there. Last week, you can see right here on that TSM news with Intel, we got that aggressive bid through 200 all the way up to 205s, 206s before a little bit of a pullback. So I've put on my anchored VWAP at that event and let's see if we hold some of those levels. So where are buyers? I'm going to ask myself, if we come back down into that anchor, do buyers still show up? Because there were significant buyers off of that catalyst. 203.37 is where that anchored currently sits here on a 3-minute chart, and currently we're trading at 205s on TSM. Delta taking flight.
You're gonna have to see what's going on here in
right
Palantir.
Here, Palantir. Oh boy,
Palantir is absolutely gone. So obviously that 25 level on Intel's really, really close. It's not there just yet. You got SMCI breaking out. We're trying to pull back into prior highs there and on NVIDIA. Those are the first two. But look at Palantir now, 3% to the upside. You've cleared out. Every price is going to be an all-time high at this point for Palantir. So let's try to respect VWAP if we can. But look at what's going. Wow. Oh my goodness, I literally glanced away for 2 seconds. Another fresh high just got made, and Tesla's going as well. Look at SMCI start to go. So there were no dip buys to be had. We talked about being patient with the market coming down, but nothing is dipping in as we'll look for VWAP SMCI. There's NVIDIA. I can cancel. Let me just cancel 141s in there. Going to look for the pullback into VWAP, which is also the prior high as well. As this is going ham, but Obi, look at Tesla. It got to 55. That's a nice reversion candle. I'm going to get my order ready. We're still breaking out 363. But that's going to be a breakout trade for sure. And as you mentioned, Intel now has buyers above that vaunted level. So we've broken out that top. Looks like we're going to get into this one first. Tesla's starting to run into resistance, but I still like that trade if we can make that breakup. My order's in for a 63 break if it does happen. But there's still about $5 to go for Tesla. It's actually, Tesla's a little bit weak right now.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one to keep an eye on here. I do want to dabble a little bit here on the Intel just to get a feel for it here. We're kind of pulling back in. I'm looking for, like I said, this is a bit of an area with again it's shown to have a little bit of supply in and around this 25 area. I'm willing to give it a little bit of a chance to show us if there's actually a bid. What's up?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh, okay. I see what's happening here. Nice. Okay, so yeah, no. Look, see, I get stopped out. So again, I'm kind of just waiting to see. I was just waiting for some of that action to kind of slow down if we get a little bit of a pullback, and it didn't slow down. We got size at 25 halves, Neil. So a little bit of a size at 25 halves. Let me pull.
Are you seeing
up
SMCI
for you guys right here? I am not watching SMCI right now.
SMCI is now up
$50
10%, $52.50. Well, I guess the market thinks they're obviously going to report. So look. Just Intel, we got in, it pulled back into the prior high at 25 quarters. I grabbed the long in there. We took some out in front of 40. I think we'll get another offer in front of the 50 if it goes again because, hey, like it could. The market's still relatively weak. We're seeing a lot of weakness in there. Got to hold on to that 25 level. And as far as levels come for SMCI, this is going to be a tricky one as it's now gone to 53. AMD, pop. Has not held above the high. We're going to go to Darren in a quick second. Has not made that breakout. I'm looking for shorts underneath that double top here on AMD. Let's now go to Adara.
Keep an eye here in Pagaya, PGY. This one did run a little bit last week. They're actually day 3 earnings because they reported Thursday before the bell. And PGY is a 22% short float. So day 3 earnings move with some upside volume for PGY. Back to you.
Okay, so yeah, a little bit of a bid coming back here in on Intel. I did try once again. There's some size sitting at 25 halves that I was mentioning here. I think it was about 2,000 lots. So we are trying to get into that size as of right now. I did take a little bit of a short once again. When the bid kind of started to dissipate, it's not. I don't think it's all the way done just yet. I do have a lot of room to kind of add into this position if and when it starts to work really well. And if it doesn't, that's perfectly fine. Current day high is sitting at 25.46. We're trading 25.30s right now. Market got a little bit of a pull up after that strong flush off of the open there. So yeah, that bid kind of continuing here on Intel. Maybe we do reclaim some of these levels and push past. But yeah, a little bit of turbulence here on Intel. We'll let that one kind of work. I think I'm about to get stopped out. It really wants that size at 25.50s. There it is. Let's see if we can take out some of that size. If it does, then I'm pretty much done with the idea on the short there. I did want to only try a couple times here underneath the halves if we slow down a little bit there. But oh boy, was that some strong action off of the open there? Yeah, Tesla coming right back in there, Neil, as well. All right, so we took it off at it took off the 25.50s right there. Strong continuation to the upside. Let's see what Adara has to say.
We have Micron really strong here off the open. They also did have a catalyst this morning announcing their new Micron 4600 PCI SSDs or solid state drive. So new solid state drive announcement here for Micron, up 5% here, basically at high of days, knocking on the door of 105. Back to you.
I won't go, obviously you guys can see what's going on there with Intel. We still have the quarters long. I did not get a dip into... Sorry. We just went over Intel so you guys can see what's going on with that one. I still like VWAP. I don't know if we're going to see it again. So prior high looks like it's going to be the reload spot. NVIDIA, for the first time, is starting to pull back. Well, okay. So as Intel goes up, NVIDIA is starting to pull back. What is going on with that dark pull into 142? So a little bit of weakness coming into NVIDIA off that VWAP. I'm looking for a VWAP bounce, and then we can grab it. AMD did not chill. It's now at 115, but remember, 115, if we go up to the chart here, is still that even dollar and the resistance on this trend line. So if we lose 115, I look for a quick reversion trade. SMCI is now too far gone at this point. I'm just not going to chase SMCI. Got to look for something a little bit different. And then for the daily here on Intel, you guys can see $26.
Yep.
26 is kind of the target in here. If we get to that, I'm looking for a reversion at the 26 to 26 quarter spot. So we get to 26, I'm grabbing this one out and take what we can get. Remember, Intel's up 9%.
Yeah, that's absolutely
Biggest
wild
week
here.
in 20 years Intel just had.
Yeah, well, we had a 40% run from the lows.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy there. Yes, very, very strong bid coming in here on Intel. And yeah, that's 63. Sorry, I have a 25.43. Sorry, 26.43 is that prior high on Intel from the week of November 4th. Of last year. So last year, November 4th, Intel made a high of that 26.43 on the weekly, and we're coming into that level with that aggressive bid coming in. No real break of trend just yet. So yeah, hands off the keyboard there. I did try a couple of times there, but I'm going to be patient for it to actually come in if it's even there. But the long is definitely not wrong currently, as Intel is distinctly different from the rest of the market. Something else I wanted to look up was TSM to see how TSM is doing on this morning today, and bit of a shake and bake there. We could not get past that Friday's high that we made at 26.25s. So in the pre-market today, we did get past it, 26.66's highs, but now currently just consolidating, bit of a chop here within the opening range on TSM. So not really doing too much here as Intel pushes all the way up to 26s, Neil. So let's see if there's going to be any size sitting on that 26. Let me just pull up the book here because the chart is definitely, I mean, those candles are off the charts, literally, currently, as of right now, as Intel, aggressive bid. Let's see, it's done already. It's already done an ATR, Neil. And I think insane. The ATR is a little bit changing because, like, last week we had some crazy action there, so it might be affecting the ATR a little bit. There's the size right there. Over 7,000? Was it 7,000?
I
have no idea.
It's almost a million shares. Let's go to Adara.
Uber on watch here. UBER just made new day's highs. I want to clarify, this story actually came out yesterday, but Uber apparently launching Uber Ski across Europe, which allows European travelers to be able to safely get to their ski destination. So UBER launching Uber Ski. There's also some small caps on the run today, including KWE. This one has been on watch. This is K-West Microsystems. There's also here ZETA, both of which are near day's highs. So ZETA, KWE, and Uber on watch right now. Back to you.
So as Intel's insanity goes, I said if it curled off of that 26, we'd get out. So I did get it out, and we're looking for, if it breaks 26 and a third is that level on the daily chart. Looking for a reversion there, but I think you got to be patient. It's obviously flying pretty heavily. So just very quickly, I want to show you NVIDIA bounced off VWAP at 142-ish. It's like 142 change. Got to about 142.70 and starting to run into resistance there. So we're long at 32s. I'll look for a reload off that 142 even level if we're able to get it. NVIDIA strong. It's not Intel strong, but you know, what is besides like Palantir is Intel strong? It's just a weird thing to say. Palantir up 5%. It's at $125. Is another one that might have gotten away from us in there while we're taking the Intel long. VWAP, I feel like might be a little bit of a problem because when it's this strong, we've seen Palantir completely ignore VWAP before. It's distinctly different from what we saw on Friday. This one's flying. You got there's another government official buying the stock, and you know, when this is happening, it's just squeezing shorts right now. Also, SMCI squeezing shorts. I said I will not chase this thing. It's way above VWAP. It's 55. I think I'm going to look for a reversion to try and buy a dip in some of these names. Not to try to go short, but to try to buy a dip. So far, Intel's been a good long. We've just gotten into NVIDIA for the first time off VWAP. And do not want to forget the one thing that I kind of like short today was AMD, but it's above 115. So it has not reverted underneath that 115 level. So I feel no need to fight it because it is now above that trend since October, downward sloping trend line. Yeah,
a little
even
bit
AMD's breaking out a little bit here.
Yeah, a little bit of a pullback here on Intel. So we couldn't quite get to that 26 just yet, but I'm going to stay patient. There was a lot of size sitting at that 26. I got the book pulled up here. So if we pull back up into the 26 level, we're only a quarter away, right? So with this kind of strength, I do want to see a distinct reason to revert. I do like reversions, but as of right now, the long was definitely not wrong. As that aggressive push, it kind of broke that pre-market downtrend through that 25 level and aggressive push all the way up into 26s, almost into 26s, but 25.70s. We're kind of struggling with that last quarter for now, but let's see. There's still about a minute left for this first 15-minute candle to print, so I'm going to stay patient with that one. Again, it is acting distinctly different from the rest of the market, so I do want to be a little bit patient. If we're going to kind of continue this trend and the bid doesn't just step off, but it kind of slows down, I do want to stay a little bit involved with this one. Kind of going to keep an eye on this one as well. But yeah, some of the other tickers that I was watching didn't really do what I was looking for there. AMAT, again, was it day 2 earnings? Today was day 2 earnings. AMAT kind of bid up right off of the open there and then flushed. So no real continuation to the downside just yet on AMAT. That's what I was looking for. Novo Nordisk, again, gapped up and continues to kind of hold some of its pre-market levels as of right now. And TSM, oh boy, yeah, TSM not really doing too much. Just still trading within its, oh boy, there is a flush on the market. Now. What's happening? All right, so something's definitely, something,
yeah,
by
NVIDIA
something, I mean sellers. There's some size on the bid on Intel. Oh,
quickly, NVIDIA just broke VWAP, so I got out on the. I still have that wick, guys, so apologies about that. We got a bounce. It doesn't look like much. It bounced about 50 pennies in the money for us and then got underneath break even. So underneath VWAP, I'm out waiting for 140 to try to keep it tight to the vest. And as you were just saying, some selling starting to come in, so might be a chance to get back into Intel. Still like the prior top here at 25 and a quarter. That's where we're along the first time. If we can get that, great. And this could be our opportunity at SMCI. Is that just heavily pulled back for the first time? So what I'd like to see is, hey, don't make another breakdown. If you go to VWAP, great. But hey, if you don't even get to VWAP, that's even stronger. So if we can hold on to this 53.5, that would look awfully good. But when the market reverses like this, I got to go over to the name that I like short, and that was going to be AMD. Now back underneath the 115, 115.5, it's wicked it. It broke that upward trend. So if we're looking short on AMD, this could be our chance if we can get this pop into 115, then play it off of those highs. So far, so good. We're able to get in and out of NVIDIA quickly there to be able to get a small long win, but it was Intel that was the better long, and even it's about to lose VWAP.
Yeah, it's coming right into its VWAP here, Neil. So I have VWAP marked down at 25.21 in that area. We're trading 25.20s currently right now. So the question becomes, if we were strong off of the open and if we pull back into VWAP, are there going to be buyers here at VWAP once again? Again, market not really giving us the right kind of tailwind just yet, but that strong flush. Let's see if Intel holds a bid on that strong flush once again. We did kind of hold those 20s. Current low is literally 25.21, so we're still trading in and around some of those areas. There was some size on the break back through of 25.50s as well, so that size got taken out into the bid, so definitely showing us that a little bit of aggressive selling coming back into VWAP here. But let's see if VWAP kind of holds for the pushback up, and if it doesn't, that's perfectly fine as well. I think the turn off of this was definitely interesting here, but yeah, a little bit of a break on the 3-minute chart. You guys know I like to use the 3-minute charts for my intraday trades. We're still holding some of this VWAP right now. So again, I'm going to be patient again and look for the next trade. Where is the next trade? That's what I'm asking. I'm going to ask you guys as well. What did you guys trade anything in the first 15 minutes? I took a couple shots at Intel. Didn't really work out because I was on the wrong side of the move, but it's starting to work a little bit now. If we hold below that VWAP, then maybe. AMAT, sellers coming back into AMAT as well. T-Mobile, this was the other one I was talking about, Neil. TMUS on my watch list, but not really doing what I was really looking for here. So the market coming in aggressively, but you can take a look at TMUS on a weekly and see how strong this ticker has been over the past year or so. You can see catching a bid in 2023, breaking out, consolidating for a good chunk of 2024, and then pushing up even higher here. Very, very strong chart on TMUS. Let's see if this current week will give us some fresh highs here. These are all-time highs, 271.41 from prior week high on TMUS. Let's see what breaking news Adara has for us.
You have it.
Today, but WBA breaking out on it pretty insanely right now. I'm going to see if there's anything else on WBA, but the only catalyst I saw on it as of right now is apparently Nations Benefit here, which is a fintech company. Apparently, they have expanded their retail network with a Walgreens partnership, so strategic partnership here with Walgreens and Nations Benefits. I'm going to see if there's anything else here on WBA, but it's the only catalyst I have in this one right now as it pops up with volume, guys. Back to you.
Adara. The other thing that's making a power move here is going to be Uber. I'm going to get to SMCI VWAP in a quick little second, but Uber up 2.5 points. It's held 80. It's breaking fresh highs as the market is literally going through the bottoms. You have Uber breaking out the top. So it's a bit of a, call what you want, bull flag, whatever, continuation long through about $80.50. I am back into, not back into SMCI. We're into SMCI for the first time because we didn't get it last time. But there's SMCI holding prior low. Wow, this is getting a little heavy here. So, all right, just to tell you what just happened, we bounced pretty clean off 53.11, held a prior bar, and was going through the $0.50 when I just saw a bunch of selling in there at the 75 level. So a bunch of sellers in there at the 3/4. Then to scalp some out. This is looking, when I look at that candle, it's actually pretty bearish. The NASDAQ is going from green to red. So you're breaking through the overnight lows. So got to be a little bit cautious here. It's a weird one. The market's tanking, and I've only gone long 3 times and won 3 times, which is weird given the way the move is going. But SMCI relative strength, I think that's the right spot if it can hold on to VWAP. Maybe we reload this at the 53 level a little bit tighter and just see what happens next. And then just to go over to Intel, this is now bouncing. Oh, wow, the buyers are coming right back into Intel right off of that VWAP. So let's see if we can't get involved here on Intel at VWAP. I want to look for the long again at that same price that we got earlier. Starting to look pretty good. So that's holding. Yeah. NVIDIA's not. NVIDIA's now at 141, so that's headed downside. We'll look to get back into Intel here. And Tesla, there will be no 363 breakout. I'm going to cancel that order now.
Yeah, I think with the market pulling back this aggressively and Intel showing us a little bit of a bid here, I think that's definitely showing us some good signs there for a push back up. Again, that 2550 has a little bit or had a little bit of size there earlier, so let's see if that can come back into play here. No real size coming up right now. You guys can see it right here on the bottom of the book right there. Only about 600, about 500, just over 500 lots sitting on that 25.5 level. Let's see if we can make it through that one there, but a bit of a catch of the bid here off of VWAP on Intel. Let's see if we get a bit of continuation. We did hold that 25. Again, prior day highs as well, holding currently. Let's see. Again, supply did come in off of the highs, current day highs at 25.96s, but let's see if we can magnet back up to that 26 level. There was some significant size sitting on that 26 level, Neil. So let's see if it wants some of that liquidity. Or if not, that's perfectly fine as well. More than willing to take a couple shots at this one before it finishes off. That WBA as well. I think, is that ticker halted? I think so, because I don't think it's trading right now. But yeah, halted Walgreens up on that news on Walgreens. So absolutely wild action there on that one. Going to keep an eye on that one as well.
Yeah, it's Walgreens is halted to the upside for anyone that's paying attention to it. Just one more note here. We're going to go to Adair in a quick little second, but you can't seem to get to VWAP on the other side here of AMD. The prior high was 114.5 right in here. As long as it holds under that, I still want to look for the short on advanced micro devices. So we're going to nibble in for the first time here, and let's go to Adara.
I just want to clarify too, so that news on WBA earlier did come out around 7 a.m., but we did get this sharp move up with volume. Walgreens Boots Alliance, to clarify the news, I guess a fintech company apparently has partnered with Walgreens Boots Alliance for a strategic partnership. That was the catalyst. With WBA as well, I want to let you know, I'm looking into this in social media. I'm not finding any news or reason for this particular halt. Again, it could have been the news catalyst that I just delivered, but that was from 7 a.m., so I just wanted to let you guys know we're still a little unclear as to why WBA is up here, but with volume, and this one has been on watch because there are talks here of a deal with Sycamore. So keep an eye here on WBA. Back to you.
Yeah, no, definitely gonna have some eyes on that one there. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna pull it up here on my book just to know when it opens up. So I think WBA trades in the Nasdaq. Yeah, WBA on the Nasdaq. All right, so it's open now once again. So as soon as I pulled it up, it did open up here. Let's see if WBA gets that continuation going off of this halt open there. There's some size sitting on the half. So you can see about 1,000, just over 1,000 lots there on that 1050 mark on WBA. So let's see if we can kind of push through that. Intel holding well on top of its VWAP as of right now as well. So we're coming right back up into that 2550s. Let's see if we can break above and hold this 2550s. Maybe we can position to take some inventory through that 26 if it'll give it to us. Let's see if that'll come into fruition there. But yeah, some of those prior highs, man, Intel's very, very strong. And again, it got a presidential seal for a potential look at from TSM, and I think that AVGO as well, rumored to maybe potentially to have eyes on Intel as well.
They want different parts of the business, right? So
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing for Intel. And to be honest, as a day trader, I really don't care. I just want to see what kind of price action I can react to.
It's not bad for the stock price.
Yeah,
I mean, ultimately, if you're in a given sense, if you're extracting value in different segments on a beat up stock, that's always going to be seen as like positive.
Yeah.
Like how much of this is baked in is hard to say because, as we said before, Intel literally had its best week in 20 years last week, which every time I say that, it doesn't sound any more pathetic. Sharif just said crazy, but I think it's actually pretty sad that $19 to $25 is the best week that you've had percentage-wise in 20 years. It's baffling to me. We see stocks do that all the time. But as long as it holds VWAP, it's good. So let's leave it at that. If it's above VWAP, we go long. SMCI cannot seem to get to VWAP, so that continues to go higher. We slapped our first short, and VWAP broke there on AMD, but I might have got wicked out. So slapped our short, and then it broke out that prior high. I'm probably going to take another shot at this. I don't have a lot of things that I was looking short this morning, but one of them was a fail under the prior high, which will give it maybe one more chance to do that again here in AMD. So far, so good on SMCI and Intel to the south side. And Tesla, yeah, a bit of a disappointment. This is why you wait for the key prices. It's just diddling right in the middle. You know, no breakout of 63, which is what we liked for a long. Or down here supporting the 350 level. All it's doing is shaking people out left, right, and center on Tesla. So I feel like patience was the right way to go here and do not want to force the action in something like a Tesla. We're fortunate enough to have eked the win on NVIDIA off of VWAP. That's still trending down as well. So it's under VWAP the same way AMD is. Would love to see it hold the low, break back out, then we can go long off the 42. Otherwise, in this trend, I'm waiting for 140. That's what we said we wait for, and we have no issues doing that. And Sir MRM in the chat points out that it might not be the day for Meta. Meta down 1.7%. It's hard to get to 21 days in a row if you're down 1.7%. I think this makes sense, regardless of what happens in the market, that you were going to get a down day. Just going to pull out for you where the support was and where I would expect it today, down around the 712, 713 level. There were buyers there multiple days in a row. I think if Meta can get there, I'd look for a reversion down in those teens for Meta.
Yeah, I think the market's catching a little bit of a bid here as well. You can see both the ES and the NQ on their 15-minute charts. You can see the NASDAQ catching a strong bottom wick there all the way back through that 22,200 mark. You can see we're about to go a little bit red to green here, Neil, on the NASDAQ 15-minute candle here. So aggressive bid does come in. Let's see if that sentiment can follow through on some of these other tickers here. Let's see what the Mag 7 is up to currently. Meta, wow, Meta straight flush off of the open there. NVIDIA still trading within its opening range. Tesla still trading within its opening range. So is Softy, and Apple about to push for its highs. So maybe that's what's bringing in a little bit of the bid into the market. Alphabet, Google breaking down below prior day's consolidation lows. We had a little bit of a triple bottom in and around that 184 mark on Alphabet. We're coming into some of those levels currently with the strong sell-off, and Amazon Amazon as well, selling off to the downside alongside with that. So yeah, I'm getting alerts on WBA that I had set
It's
in
open.
from yeah, no, it's been open for a little bit,
Okay.
but we're pushing back up into that $11 mark. There are 1084s currently trading on the ask there. Let's see how well this ticker will push. But yeah, a little bit of a rumor, I guess, that, or some news earlier on this morning, but a late reaction happening currently coming into the open as of right now on WBA. Going to have eyes on it. Let's see what we do. But yeah, off of that halt open, if you took that halt up price back through, again, we're about 20 pennies right there. You can see there's a lot of size sitting at random levels here. 1089, about 2,000 lots sitting there on WBA. So could be interesting, should be interesting. Softy, oh boy, it's about to break pre-market highs. There's that bid coming in on the market, man. Yes, absolutely wild.
I was gonna because Microsoft hasn't been it for a hot minute now, so a good look for them. I actually don't even track that one like we used to, unfortunately. It's just how it's been. Oh, here comes a seller in two names. Intel just saw that 25.5 start to reemerge itself, and same thing happening here on SMCI. I've really poorly drawn this trend here, but yeah, if we lose 54 again, this is the second time in this pullback that 54.5 has turned into a bit of a sell for SMCI. I think the reload is likely to be above the 54 and then play the trend line, and then the same thing for Intel here. Although Intel strong off VWAP, starting to run into a seller at $25.50. Yeah. Tesla's gearing up for a bit of a breakout to happen here, but come on, Tesla. All right, Tesla's gearing up. Higher lows are still coming in. I know I said 363, but if the market holds green, I might take a nibble at this through the 60 level into that 363 just so we can participate. We've really only been long today and want to stay with any strong stocks. I'm taking Palantir temporarily off the list. It's now underneath VWAP after that latest pullback. I don't want anything under VWAP when the market's at these lows. Either you're holding above VWAP or we can wait for you to get a little bit stronger or pull back into a better level. So SMCI about 50 pennies in the money. I'm looking for an opportunity to either add on trend. Oops, I got to redraw that trend line. Either add on trend. Let's go in like that. If we can hold, right now we're threatening to close underneath that opening trend line that we just had. So if we close underneath, I get out and wait for VWAP.
$11 break on that WBA.
Wow,
right
still
now.
going.
So yeah, it's still going, still pushing, very, very strong on the day. Let's see what Adara has to say.
We're going to take a look here at this happening now in these numbers. We just got the NAHP housing market index data for February, a little bit lower than expected, 42 versus the forecast 46, previous to 47. And this market here, so there's 4 Qs, QQQ. This is the NASDAQ right now on the day. We did have a little bit of a push in these last 2 3-minute candles, but right now trying to give up a little bit of that, rejecting at 539, basically going from red to green in the morning. S&P 500 looking fairly similar. Meta, green to red. Speaking of green to red, we have Meta actually down right now 1.8% roughly on the day. It's poised to break its 20-day winning streak. So we'll have to see if META can continue that push to the downside. Then we have WBA, which has been strong all day. We had a list at 7 a.m. with Walgreens Boots Alliance, basically announcing that they entered a partnership with a fintech brand, but that came at 7. It's unclear. That is the reason for this volume push. Social media does not have a lot of answers here with regards to the strength on WBA as it makes new day's highs, but I will keep looking into this one for you. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adara.
Yeah, I'm going to ring ready and not just look that gift horse in the mouth on SMCI. It just wicked again that 54. So if we break out 55, I think there's an opportunity in there. But with the market breaking lower here, it's starting to not look so strong in some of the chip names as well. So if we pull back, VWAP sits at 53. I don't want to give it all the way back into that. Intel's looking okay, but AMD just lost a bid. NVIDIA just lost a bid. I was trying to get back into AMD. We just canceled that order. Trying to get back into the AMD short. It's just such a weird morning to have made money on 3 longs and lost on the 1 short that's going down as the market's breaking lower. It's one of those types of mornings. You never, as a day trader, it's kind of funny when that happens, but it's not that funny because I wanted to be in this AMD short still. NVIDIA just lost its bid at 141, headed down into that 140 level. So the NASDAQ headed lower. The good news is for Intel, it's still looking relatively strong.
Yep.
So it's well above that prior high. The good news, like it's just holding that prior high very nicely. I think if we can push into 26, it's a get out and break long at 26. Every even dollar level. Every quarter is pretty good on Intel as a $25 stock. So you break that 75, I think the out's going to be in the 90s, and then look for a potential 26 break. But the market not that strong anymore, Obi.
No, I mean, it's coming back in this area where we did attempt to catch a bit of a bid. Again, we were talking about that 15-minute candle on the Nasdaq potentially going red to green, but it closed red, and we were trading back below that 22,200 mark here on the Nasdaq as it pushes a little bit lower. And yeah, I'm definitely shaking my head at this one while looking at this SMH. A bit of a pullback here, holding the lows, so looking a little bit like the market right here, but still something interesting. We're holding above prior day's highs, which I really like. Let's see what SMH has in store for us, especially when I'm trading and when I have fills and position on Intel. I definitely want to keep an eye on the semiconductor ETF to see if we have a little bit of a tailwind there as well. If SMH can catch a little bit more of a bid coming in, then maybe we get that tailwind on that Intel to push us up to that 26 mark. I have no idea. But again, we're teetering around that 1 ATR mark as well on Intel. I think last week on Friday when I checked, 1 ATR was about $1.09. And currently, let's take a look once again. I know it's around $1, so that's what I'm kind of looking at here. But checking back at it, again, when the ticker's moving around in a volatile manner, that ATR can definitely move around as well a little bit. So let's check what it is currently on Intel. I have, okay, so $1.18 is the 14-day ATR.
Yeah,
so it went up by another 9 pennies over the weekend, I guess. So a little bit of a push past that 1 ATR. Again, we opened up in and around 24.60s was the opening price. We took a high at 26s. So yeah, bit of a strong push there. Multiple ATRs there. What's up, Adara?
I have some updates here in WBA, so I'm just seeing this come through in X now. It seems like potentially that catalyst that pushed us to the upside with volume comes from CNBC. So David Faber of CNBC a couple weeks ago said that the deal between Walgreens, Boots Alliance, and Sycamore, basically Walgreens is rumored to be looking to sell itself to Sycamore. David Faber had said that deal was mostly dead. Now today, David Faber says that deal is alive. So basically what we have here is David Faber changing his, I guess, take on the livelihood of the WBA and Sycamore deal, sending it to the upside. Again, just to recap, the rumored deal between Sycamore and Walgreens Boots Alliance is now apparently alive, according to a CNBC anchor. Once again, just using his words there. So we also had a previous catalyst on Walgreens involving a partnership between the company and a fintech firm that came at 7 a.m. though before the spike. Back to you.
Thank you very much there, Dara. Thank you so much to David for the super chat. Our boy David in the house once again. Your boy Gunsel says, hi, so many protests re-Doge. Consumer sentiment for Tesla is boo. That is, I can't disagree with you there, but you know, I think the stock is made a little bit of a bounce, and we'll get to that one in a quick little second. That plane still there upside down. You know what? I have no idea. I would imagine they've got that cleared up, hopefully. At this point, I think it's an absolute miracle that that everybody is ultimately safe. There's some injuries on that Delta flight, but wow. You don't look at that and, yeah, I'm amazed. So good luck that plane managed to keep everyone safe. So by the way, just one note here.
Let's integrate.
NVIDIA, you can see it's trying to close, breaking the trend. So it didn't hold VWAP for very long. We got a little bit of bounce play there. Looking for it to close above the trend line here, which would be closing above this prior high. It's about 141. It's got a few minutes to be able to do that and then start to look for the long again. SMCI is cruising. Palantir looking weak. And David, because you mentioned it, here's Tesla. Higher lows into a potential flat top break. So it just feels like I'm moving the goalpost from 363 to maybe even taking this 59 break here on Tesla. The fact that you're making higher lows while the market's making lower lows does support that breakout. So the two things that I think happen next, ideally Tesla keeps holding these higher lows and breaks out the opening range. That's actually 59.10. And then NVIDIA is holding this 141. So NVIDIA looks like it's going to hold that 141. I'm going to get my orders locked and loaded to go here on that one. So lots of strength coming back into the market. You wouldn't know it by the NASDAQ holding red, but you're getting some bounces here. You're going to look for some look for some long. Here comes that Intel 26. I'm still getting out in front of 26 and looking for a 26 even break.
Yeah, that prior high is at 96, Neil. So let's see. We did get some aggressive push there. Again, market catching a little bit of a bid as well. And I'm watching SMH, like I said before. Here, SMH catching a little bit of a bid as well here as we push back up into the 70s here. So 96 is the current day high. We're trading well within just about a few pennies away from those. Let's see if we make a lower high, or do we continue to push up a little bit higher. I did add a little bit through that push to take some. Like I said, my intention was to build some inventory to take through that 26 level and see what we do in and around there. But if it'll take longer, that's perfectly fine. I'm more than willing to try again there. WBA still currently going on that push. So yeah, a little bit of a sentiment change there. We saw WBA over the past couple of weeks was sold off quite aggressively and made its way all the way down back below that $10 mark. And today we get that aggressive bid with that sentiment change. So situational, maybe there's a situational change or a landscape change here, obviously. But yeah, I think Dara said that the CNBC reporter may be coming in and saying that some deal might be back on, and we're catching that aggressive bid back to the highs there. Let's see what this market does, guys. I think that again, we've been selling off quite aggressively. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 15-minute candles to the downside here on the NASDAQ. And let's see if we get any more. We only have about 6 minutes left for this current 15-minute candle to print. And let's see if the market prints us a little bit lower here. WBA taking a little bit of a breather, it would seem. Here comes 2580s. This is what I have on watch currently, about, again, 10 pennies away from day highs right now. Let's see what Intel does in and around that 26. There was a lot of size there, Neil, at that 26 level, and we're slowly creeping up onto it. We got down to VWAP. The question was, if there are still buyers on the ticker, where can they potentially show up? Is it at VWAP? Yes, they showed up at VWAP. We're continuing to the upside. We saw some of that tape, the speed and aggression. Shout out to Wayne there for coining that term there on the tape. For that push back up to that 26 level here. So let's see if we can fill some of that size. That's a lot of dollar volume sitting at that 26. Let's see if we got some big boys ready to wipe that order off of the ask there. Coming right back in, 2591s currently on Intel, Neil. So absolutely wild.
I just covered at that 91 level as
Nice.
actually as you were mentioning. Look, this 26, I think it's a breakout through that 26 order.
Yeah,
for sure. Like there's some size there, but it's not necessarily even about the size. Just go quickly to the daily chart. When in doubt, zoom out. 26 has been a bit of resistance. It's a high since the all-time low, or since the 52-week low. There is some overhead resistance there, and it has like 60 to 70 cents above, I think, that 26 level. So there's room on that break to give you another scalp trade, but I'm just going to respect it for now. If we get another pullback into VWAP, as long as VWAP holds long the stock. Every time it gets into VWAP, and you don't have to sit on the bid, because I think the last time there was this candle underneath, you can be patient, pull back into the prior high. It finally holds, and when it holds, that little wick under 25, there's the go long on that 25 quarter. So if we break 26, great. If we don't, we're just waiting back around for that Intel VWAP bounce, which I think is inevitable. Unfortunately, we got out of SMCI, and now that's double topping 55 even. So this can't seem to get to VWAP. I guess the buy is right back in that 53 third that we're looking at before. If this also pulls back, I think playing into VWAP is going to be another plan. So far we've been long SMCI, Intel, and NVIDIA. Obviously, two of those have been much better than the third, because NVIDIA right back to retesting. So I didn't really get the long, didn't want to chase up at that top, but now that it's made the close above this little trend line, you're now holding the 141 even. If it loses that prior bar, I think it's a pretty easy out. But wanted to make sure that we're bouncing off of it first. It's a downward sloping and downward trending stock while the market's going down as well. So I want to make sure that we're having a reasonable risk plan. If it breaks the low, it's an easy out for me. Sorry, if it breaks this prior bar low, it's an easy out for me. Not the low of the day.
Yeah, I have eyes on one price right now, Neil, on that Intel. It's that prior high at 2640s, and I'm like, all right, what is the probability of us clipping some of that price if we can get through that significant size at that 26? As of right now, still kind of struggling a little bit here at 2570s, still kind of chopping around that last quarter. Again, only about 15, 16 pennies away from the high currently, and with the market, again, market continues to sell off. SMH is still consolidating near its lows, and Intel distinctly different and ticking to the upside here. So trying to catch a little bit of a bid. Like I said, it definitely wants a piece of that lick. That's what it's showing us. So let's see if we can actually take some of that size out at 26s. Now, here's the thing: we don't know if that size is going to continue to be there. We saw it there once before. Is it going to be there again? 5 pennies away from the high now. 90s trading on the ask. 96s again is the high, Neil. So absolutely exciting stuff here as SMH looking like it's catching a little bit of a flag. Here we go. Can we print those 96s? A little bit of size here at 95s, about 400, 500 lots there sitting at 95s.
Pump it.
Again, Intel. Oh boy, are we going to push up a little bit higher? I just want to see that 26 mark and see if that size shows up once again at that 26s. You said there was over a million lots.
Well, it looked like it when I got a glance at it.
There it is, about 4,000 or 5,000 lots there, sitting at that 26 mark. Let's see, right there, we're knocking on the door, Neil, of that 26. Oh boy, can we push through this? Are we going to break out? I have no idea, but that ask is definitely a little thick there. A lot of size sitting at that 36, 33.
I was waiting for that
right there. I know you were waiting for that. Boom, there we go, right through that 26. Can we hold? Can we push? Are we getting some distinct action? I got no idea, but I'm waiting for 26s to hold. If they do, I think we're poised for that 2640s. That's the next bus stop I see on this train to the upside. Chips with the dip, man, 18 halves. That was the place on Intel. Now we're trading 26s. What a market, Neil.
What an unbelievable market it is. Maybe SMCI. Oh, sorry, SMCI. Maybe Broadcom and who am I forgetting? Oh, it's Broadcom and shoot. Who's the other side of it? TSM.
Yeah, TSM.
Maybe they're going to have to pay a little bit more for Intel. First things first, we did get NVIDIA into the prior bar high, so we scalped that out. I took the breakout on Intel. We were in and out of this one. It did not hold the 26 break. Once you go back underneath, I still, look, VWAP is the place to go, in my opinion, on Intel. So until you either break away from this 26 in earnest, it did get up to like 7s. I got 01s because it's Intel. You're only going to get slipped a penny. If you get slipped more than a penny, you should try to hit with another key. Want to look to see if we can hold on to the trend line. So breakout, different from a dip buy. But if you look at the trend, 25.8 has now been set in. So you've got higher lows into this trend. If we can bounce off this trend on this little pullback under 26, then I'd look for an entry off the trend line or at VWAP. If we never break trend and I don't get long, I can just take a long break, maybe through 26.10. As mentioned, NVIDIA, we got into that one on a trend break. It's trying to get back into VWAP as well. Keep trying to get rid of this wick in there, but the scaling is a little bit messed up. If we break 142, I'm looking for a 143 hold on NVIDIA. So far, so good for the longs. The market's making a very nice reversal as we speak. So this is a good spot. If you're looking at any of those weak names, Meta is starting to break, or at least attempting to break its trend. That's not the one I'd be concerned with. Palantir just put in this nice little reversal candle here off of its opening range, which is also prior day high. So prior day high, you've got a nice reversal candle here on PLTR. We can hold 121. I think this is a nice little turn for Palantir. Couldn't hold VWAP, so you had to wait for it to get to the prior high in my book.
Yeah, so I'm still kind of waiting. Now we have a trend on our hands, Neil. So yeah, a bit of a hold of moving averages. Now there's some size at 26.10s, about 1,000 lots there. So we did pull back. We reclaimed that 26. Let's see if we get that continuation. Only about roughly 30 pennies away from that prior high. Now if we start to break some of those levels, that's a monthly breakout. So we got daily breakouts, we got weekly breakouts, we got monthly breakouts. Oh boy, Neil, a bit of a multi-time frame runner here on Intel. So yeah, a lot of interest happening on this ticker here. Let's see if we can hold 26 with any sort of distinction as of right now, but still kind of chopping there. I got eyes on some moving averages. If we can hold some of those, that's great. If not, that's perfectly fine. The market taking another leg to the downside here, Neil. So no idea where we'll end off by the end of the day, but Intel's super strong. What's up, Adara?
Time to welcome GCL Global to public trading. This company is a I guess, a special acquisition there. So they de-SPAC'd. This GCL is the ticker under which this is trading. Keep an eye on this one here. We're trading around the $6 mark. So this could be of interest potentially during that midday. Potential small cap mover here with GCL. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
GCL in the house. So we did get that bounce on Palantir off 121. So it broke trend. I mean, I had the trend line in there. It'd be hard to see, but we broke trend, held that higher low, held the prior day's highs as well for Palantir. You got Intel, which is starting to come back in. We like that one on its trend line as well. But hey, everybody, look at that. It is the President's Day sale, and the savings are here for Trade Ideas. So get 22% off all new subscriptions with the code TraderTV22. But wait, there's more. Upgrade to Premium Annual and snag a massive 28% off with the code TraderTV28. Nice and simple. That's right. Huge savings are happening now. Head to the 2025 President's Day sale landing page, link below, and before February 19th. Don't miss out. Trader TV 22 for the 22% off all new subscriptions. Trader TV 28 for the massive premium annual savings there. Shout outs to Trade Ideas, and good luck everybody out there with your trading day, which so far on a day where there hasn't been a green candle on the NASDAQ, it's only longs that have worked for me. It's just a weird one. It's all red on my 15-minute. The NASDAQ is actually red as well. Haven't really taken an L. Well, we'll see, because we might actually break this prior low on Palantir. We were able to get this out at 121 a third, but if we break this prior bar low, I'm just getting out. That's 121.75. Do not want to be fighting stocks in this market.
No.
You know, like longs, even if they're working, like Intel.
Friend is my friend.
Like this was, actually, Intel we just got instead of, it's not going to get into VWAP. We've only been long 25 quarter and then VWAP again. This is the first time we actually took a long off the top, holding prior bar high. If it loses that, it's losing a trend line. So you go there, to there, to there, and you can see it's trying to hold that trend. If we don't break 26 again, this could actually, like normally I'd be thinking short if we close underneath here. So I should be taking something out in front of 26 and even on the other side as well. NVIDIA doing pretty much the same thing it was before, where you're now barcoding this higher low after it broke trend. If you lose 140.75, I want to jump out of that. I should be looking back at some short setups right now. And I can't get back in at VWAP right now on an AMD. I already canceled my order on that. Might just have to look for this 114.12. It's underneath Friday's highs. We went 0 for 1 and we shouldn't. And there come a couple outs there. So the first L on a long today just happened on Palantir as we hung on to 2/3 of it, but it broke that prior high. Keep it tight. The market's weak. Try to play it inside the range if you can. And then Intel, which normally I'd be short this kind of a move, into VWAP. Again, tight stop, but if it's giving you 25 and 50 penny to like 70 penny moves, if you can keep it to like 5-10 cent hits in there, I think that's a good idea, and then wait for the bigger level to come in where you can take another shot at it. Let's go over to Adara. It's already time for the small cap recap.
Oh boy.
What an eventful session so far across the board. IWM here looking kind of similar to the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 in that despite a curl to the upside, we take a bit of a drop. Now we're trying to recover from bottoms. But the Russell, much like the NASDAQ and the SPY, basically flat right now. Let's take a look here at Nikola, NKLA. No catalyst on this one, but nice push to the upside, getting some volume near day's highs with a 22% short float. Then we have NBIS. This is a day 2 move for Nebius. On Friday, we did have here, based on 13F filings, some evidence that NVIDIA has reported a 1.2 million share stake in NBIS. So NVIDIA-related catalyst for that one. Last but not least, ALLO. This one, great look, much like these other names, near day's highs. Allogene, this company reporting some positive data for one of its cancer trials. So ALLO with about a 22% short float. Great look. Back to you. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Thank you very much, Dara. Yeah, so I was talking to Neil about how the Intel we got some aggressive selling there that did come in, but we're holding up pretty well. And again, looking distinctly different than the rest of the market. The market is, look at that on the right side of my screen. Yep. back-to-back reds on the 15. So back-to-back reds on the 15s. Wow, that's an aggressive bid on Intel. We're back up right as aggressively as we sold off into the 70s. We're coming right back up into 26s. So yeah, definitely a little bit of an area of interest happening here around that 26 mark. We saw the size there. We saw a lot of volume being traded. Now, something bullish would be if you see a lot of volume trading at a level, and then we start to trade higher above that level, kind of showing us that participants are willing to accept higher prices and hold the bid even higher. So let's see. We talk about indicators to use in situations, and I think moving averages in a trending ticker are a great indicator to kind of have there. And we're holding above VWAP as well, which is a strong sign. Now, if and when this market starts to pull back up for a little bit of relief, the question becomes that I'm asking is, will Intel catch an even stronger bid to the upside? And I have no idea, but if I see that observation, then I know that I might be in a bit of a decent position here, and that bid is definitely strong. But talking about strong bids, let's take a look at what else has been bidding up off of the open there. We kind of talked about P&G was shellacked on Friday, but as of today, still holds that prior day low if you guys are watching PG, and we're trading up to the highs there. Novo as well, Novo trending up. TSM, not the same. TSM trending down off of the open there, kind of pulling back into the consolidation lows that we had off of the catalyst, the intraday news that we had that pushed us. That was a beautiful price action.
Yes.
On that 200. I was looking at it, the 202 prior day triple top highs on TSM. As that catalyst came in, the volume that pushed us through that 202s pulled back, holds, and then gives us another leg up to 206s. Absolutely beautiful price action last week on TSM, taking a little bit of a breather as of right now off of the open. But some of those prices, yeah, I'm watching that 202 still, man. We're still holding that 202 on TSM, so I think that's a little significant for a bit of continuation. WBA taking a little bit of a pullback. We did get all the way up to 11s, but now we're trading 1080s currently on WBA, and AMET catching a little bit of a bid as well. Let's see. Oh boy, Meta, back-to-back reds on the 15 on Meta, holding very, very nicely. Same with Amazon. Oh boy, the package is might be a little bit delayed on the bid for this one, as it looks very, very similar to the market. But we also talk about things that are trading within their opening range, and we observed that a lot of things were doing that, and those tickers are still doing that. Nvidia is still trading within its opening range. Tesla, Softy, and Apple still well within their opening range. So the question becomes, Neil, if and when this market does catch a bid, do we get range breaks to the highs?
Well, I'm looking at a couple of things.
Because the bid is holding.
There's a lot of things holding the bid. I mean, Tesla is consolidating as well, higher highs and higher lows, so you're getting a wedge pattern. SMCI is pulling back, maybe into VWAP, but if you look at how it's been holding trend, like it's got higher highs, higher lows, and if we lose this bid in here, I think you're going to get that test of 53. It's only $1 range before it breaks down. Clearly, sellers at the 55 level. We do want to get back into this one if we can hold. Well, there was just some acceleration. I saw the same thing you did just there, Obi.
Oh boy.
Yeah, more acceleration into Intel there as the buyers are now starting to come in above 26 on mass. 2660 is the actual 52-week, like, I'm not on a closing basis, like 2660 something is going to be that high.
I have.
40 on the closing basis,
on the
but
closing.
there's wicks above that price.
Okay.
So you've got some room for this to continue to go. This one's on an absolute tear. As I said, I'm going to try to get into SMCI. If it can close this above the trend line, I'm going long again with the stop underneath 53.8. As well, the market's going down. There are strong stocks out there. SMCI clearly one of them. Intel clearly one of them. Unfortunately, Tesla doesn't want to go just yet. We're just sort of, I was saying, like, you get the higher lows and the higher highs, but it's not breaking out any of these tops yet. I still like Tesla for a 59 break if it can get there. But look at it, it's holding underneath VWAP. SMCI and Intel are the ones, clearly.
I think so. I think, and again, eyes on TSM as well. I think that 202 level could be important. It showed us it was last week, and I don't know if it's going to continue to, but I want to watch that price action, keeping eyes on that ticker to see if that shows up as a little bit of a base. I can take a look at it right here. Oh boy. Okay, so SMH finally catching that bid. We were talking about that flag formation that was happening, so we are catching a little bit of a bid here on SMH. But yeah, let's take a look at TSM. p.m. here on the day. So 201.83's current day low. But what I really want to point out is, okay, so this is that catalyst from prior week. Look at this consolidation, Neil. Absolutely, that's a held offer on 202s on Thursday. You can see very clearly that we hold that 202 over and over again. Some attempts to push back, but that's flat price action there. So yes, definitely a bit of a held offer at that 202s on Thursday. And look at what happens when we get that catalyst. Aggressive push past that level, pull back. Where do we pull back to? 201 halves, reclaim on the 202s, and then push a little bit higher. Today, we're coming right back in to those 202, that 202 mark. Let's see if we hold that a little bit there. Market's taking another pull back down into its lows here. Let's see if Intel does more of the same, or do we catch some selling on this ticker? I have no idea.
Well, that's sort of the thing. Like right now, like you've got some relatively strong names, but as the market just broke the low, AMD's at VWAP, so this could be our chance here for AMD. You're breaking lower. All right, let's nibble in here as I hold the sneeze. Underneath VWAP. All right, let's go to 20. This had to go to 22s there. I was sitting at 25, just went down into 22s, actually got 22 half. Doesn't really matter. If it breaks out above VWAP, I don't want to get wicked out, but I don't want to break a rule here. I'll give it to the $50 level and just a little bit above that. So it's always possible that I get wicked out again. As far as AMD is concerned, just to go to a higher time frame for you guys here, it's also failing underneath the double top from last week. So if we fail underneath that, I think there's plenty of room. There goes NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, a couple of times, I think we've gotten away with one on NVIDIA. Like bounce off VWAP and then it breaks down. Bounce off 141 and then it breaks down. And the same thing there again. Like you're having to keep it tight to the vest. But unfortunately, NVIDIA's trend down. So you can want it to be a long all you want. It just keeps on going stair step down. You take your profit to 50, 60 pennies, and then it's flushing through. Got to get out at break even. Yeah, I got to find places to add to this AMD because the market's now accelerating to the downside.
Yeah.
We just got in. I was trying to get a little bit more in front of VWAP. We'll look for it to hold trend under VWAP and see if we can't play it back into prior lows. The NASDAQ, I don't want to say decidedly red because it's only down 0.25% here, but you have not had a single green candle on either the NASDAQ or the ES on a 15-minute basis. This market is trending down in spite of some places that it looks a little bit strong. Just going to come to Apple for you guys, 245. I can't believe I didn't notice this before. If you're looking for maybe shorts, somebody's selling Apple at $245. That could be a level to work off of. I like AMD here. We're going to hang on to this breakdown. And let's go to Adara for the crypto update. I feel like we haven't even talked Bitcoin.
Oh, boy.
Crazy.
Take a look here at Bitcoin, which is set for its third straight red day. Though it is worth noting, not all of these crypto-related assets are looking the same. If you have MSTR, you're actually pushing nicely to the upside. If we go back to Bitcoin, though, Bitcoin right on the day, and it's worth noting here, we have not had a push above 100,000 since, if you go back to February 7th, and then we haven't actually had a close above 100,000 since February 3rd. So quite a bit of time here since we've breached that key 1,000 point level for BTC as of right now here, just trying to hold on to 95 and take out yesterday's lows here around 95.2, currently trading around 95.3. Another crypto-related name to keep an eye on is going to be XRP to USD. This one here actually pushed to the downside despite a nice look last week. Lots of speculation here. That Ripple is going to be, or XRP is going to be getting its own ETF. So keep an eye on that. In terms of other crypto names, Ethereum actually taking a harder hit than BTC, down 5%, and right now trading below that 2,700 level. XRP down about 5% as well. Solana down 8%, BNB down 4%. Doge and Cardano each down about 6.5%. So weakness across the board when it comes to crypto today. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
It's just not. We're not getting a lot of traction, and we're asked about Bitcoin in the pre-market, and I simply was like, I don't think that's the place that you want to trade, and the only place to look at it is where the support has been. Let me just zoom out. If we don't get to 53 to 53.5 and maybe creep down a little bit underneath that 95 zone, I don't think you want to necessarily touch it. It's just very, very inside with weakness. So wait for those bottoms, look for those reversions. I think it's a reversion type of market. And as we say that, as I say that, market heading back into those lows. I'm just going to show you the 15 on NVIDIA. We're at 140. When I look at the 15-minute chart, it's like, yeah, we got away with a couple. I was long entries with this exception on the only green candles, but you're going to have to do some heck of a trend break for NVIDIA to look a little bit better at this particular point. I see you reloaded on Intel. That's still looking good above the 26 level. And SMCI up 12%, but now underneath that higher low trend that it put in. Rejection of the 55 level. Looks like SMCI might be headed for a collision course with a reload at the 53 level. 12.5%. It's still relatively strong. If there's anything we're not looking at, Scott Angel is mentioning SoFi, which I haven't even peeked at here today. It's the time of day I don't want to rush into anything. We're finally into that AMD short again off of VWAP. But SoFi, 5 points up. I like you, SoFi. You're above the 50 period moving average. Didn't even notice this. Great call out, Scott. Above the higher low at 16.5. Why not be headed back into 18? I like some financials or fintech in general in this year. But now you're back above that 50. The last time it did this exact same break away from the 15 area, it took 4 days to get to $18. So we're on day 2 and it's at 17. I'd say that's looking pretty good for a day with that 18 level. So good call out there, Scott. I don't know if we're going to get a clean move through 17 even again here, but it's been taking the stairs to the upside, which is fine by me. Maybe a VWAP trade is going to be in the cards for SoFi.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of opportunity in this market, Neil, and Intel is where I'm looking for that opportunity. I know I might sound like a broken record here, but again, one of my top ideas on the day. Let's see if that'll come into fruition here. I got to hold that. Let's see how well we hold that 26 mark as of right now. We keep kind of pulling back in and bidding back up, so it is trending nicely. Market again trying to print a green candle here on the 15-minute. We still have about 11 minutes left for this candle to finish printing, so we just freshly started on that time frame there. So I'm going to stay a little bit patient. Let's see. Don't know where this market's going to catch a bid, but absolutely wild. A lot of opportunities. My question is, did anybody get short on either Meta or Amazon off of the open, or maybe you're trading
Palantir.
futures or Palantir? Oh,
look at the reversion on Palantir.
Look at that.
This is perfect for, I think, what you would have been looking for, Obi. But it was at fresh highs. It goes to 125, but maybe that's too far zoomed out. Look at the trend break on Palantir. And sometimes I think we get away with one. Everyone has their own different style of trade. Look for that bounce reversion, breaks that prior bar low, and you save yourself a ton as Palantir continues to bleed off. The market's trying to catch a bid. I don't know where the bottom necessarily is going to be for Palantir, but when you look at it, higher time frame, look at this 118. So 118, 118, 118. It's more like 118 and a third. I don't see a reason why you shouldn't retest that level. And this candle on the daily chart is starting to look a little sus. So if you're thinking longs on Palantir, it's already forming a reversal candle on the daily. I think that 118 probably the only place I'd look for any kind of a long. I'm only in the one short here right now on AMD. Oh, and the reason why we like AMD short, despite it being up, is look at the trend line on AMD. It tried to break that out. It's now back underneath that high. Got wicked out once. Trying to add to this position before we get to the low of the day. Marty in the chat. Yes, you did. Congratulations. That was a little loud. I don't know if it was as loud for you as it was for us here, but that was a little loud. Marty, shorted Palantir at 125, out 70% now. I think we get a bounce later, though, and want to get long when we see a bottom. Yeah, I'm kind of looking at that 118 myself, but it's got to be a mean reversion trade. It's got to break the trend if I'm trying to go long anything. The market's trying to put in its first green candle. I just saw NVIDIA break the low of the day, so I see no reason not to hold on to AMD to its low. Tesla's breaking lower as we speak. I mean, what's holding up right now? Intel's holding up, right? Oh,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's holding up in a general sense. It's looking pretty good. But I just see, and Netflix is apparently tanking as well. SMCI, which was so strong, that's holding on to VWAP, but it didn't quite get there. There's a few names that are showing some strength still, but watch out. This market, don't anticipate the bottom. No. Participate in a bottom. If it's a strong stock, stay long, but there's very few of those out there this morning.
Yeah, I'm always looking to participate in that bottom there, and every time we do pull back into VWAP, I think it could be nice, but Intel's not really giving us that chance. But we are pulling back into some moving averages, and we're trending to the upside. Again, looking for that market tailwind to potentially come in for that continuation, and continuation is happening across the board. A lot of selling continuation happening on TSM as well, so I have eyes on that one. I do want to see if it can catch a bid in and around the 202 mark, but I have no idea. Throw it in the chat. What are you guys trading? What are you guys watching? We'll be right back from Madeira.
This part of the show is brought to you by eSignal. Traders, listen up. First month, free. That's right, we're waiving fees. Trade smarter, not harder. Upgrade to Elite. Analyze, strategize, and capitalize. Our platform, it's everything. Infinite data, instant trading, lightning fast market insights, game-changing charts predict with back testing, reliable, real-time data, global markets at your fingertips. That's an all-in-one platform, so don't miss out. Execute your best trades now. Are you ready to elevate your trading? Scan that QR code or click the link in the description. Back to you.
Elevate your trading like Matt McClung elevates. This is actually going to be some shade. Elevates himself by pushing off to do all of his dunks. I know you didn't look. I know you don't watch the dunk off, Obi. So neither here nor there. And he's an incredible dunker. Mad respect. The guy's a freak of an athlete. It's absolutely sick everything that he does. But if you watch it back, every single time he jumps over a dude, he pushes down on the ball to get a little bit more juice. So I don't think he actually even had the dude from San Antonio. I thought had the best dunk of the night. I only watched the highlights because that's how I roll. But that's just my 2 cents. It was crazy because I'm watching the highlights. I'm like, no one's gonna. Is anybody saying anything about this push-off thing? Like, they're all assisted dunks, but there's no rule against it. And the guy is a freak. It is what it is. He's good. Danny Nahas in the chat. Why do you think MSTR is looking stronger than Bitcoin? So short answer is we know look, there's a squeeze aspect to MSTR, and sometimes it's going to find a little bit of juice when Bitcoin is doing nothing because you're probably going to have some shorts covering. That said, I think you've got an inside day in Bitcoin, and it's one of those, well, Bitcoin's not breaking 25, so there's probably, I think, just a little bit of covering going on. That would be my guess on MSTR, but it's nothing crazy. It's slightly up. It always gets more exciting to me when it's actually breaking out of a resistance zone. So we just, come on, 15-minute chart. Keep going. There you go. And we're not breaking out of the resistance zone yet. Like the lower high in here at 44 has yet to go, and then it's here at 55. That's where it gets a little bit spicy. So yeah, it's relatively strong, but I'm not excited about anything for a trade. If anything, 55 is the break, 45 is the break, and right now you're getting a heck of a lot of nothing. So yeah, a little bit more juice on IBIT. Not enough for me to get engaged in a trade at all. Speaking of engaged, come on, NVIDIA. We're still trending down, obviously, here on NVIDIA, but it's trying to break back above that 141. This could be a little bit of a turn on NVDA. And here comes Palantir into that 118. Remember we said 118 and a third, which is right in here. So that's where we're looking for the mean revert. It's there now. Now we look for the trend break as we go to Adara.
We're going to talk here about these sectors, but before we do that, I do want to mention here comments from Fed's daily. She began speaking here around 10:20, but only seeing some comments really populate now, basically saying that the policy remains restrictive, that the GDP growth and the labor market are, quote, solid, but apparently when asked if there were going to be more rate cuts this year, Daly said that, quote, the world is uncertain, but also said there's no reason to be discouraged about the inflation process, though it has taken longer than, quote, anyone wants. So Fed's daily saying inflation's taken a little bit longer than expected, but that does not necessarily mean there's a reason to be discouraged at this time. Take a look here at the market because there actually is a lot of strength in a lot of sectors. Finance looking great here. Health technology, with the exception of a drop here in this MDT Medtronic, really good look. Consumer non-durables led by a 3% push in Nike. Great look here as well. Producer manufacturing, transportation, energy minerals, utilities having some green as well. Now, in terms of weakness, retail trade pretty red across the board. We heard about Amazon's weakness, Costco, Walmart, HG, Home Depot also looking a bit red. Meanwhile, health services here led by a 2.5% push to the downside for United Health, UNH. Technology names are a little bit more mixed. Technology service here, two of our recent winners, Meta and Netflix, both red on the day. Meta notably breaking a 20-day winning streak. Then you've got electronic technology, Broadcom, pretty red here. We did have Druckenmiller sell his stake, but NVIDIA, GE, RTX, some of these other plays, including Micron and Intel notably to the upside, guys. Back to you.
Well, what's not to the upside is Palantir. Another low broken, so you are now into that supply zone from all afternoon on Friday at that 118.25. I mean, the trend from the day has held. Now I got to start looking at, I mean, I'll draw another one. It's really not going to be that much different. It's a little bit steeper if you draw it from that support at 121. So if we break the trend, I'm looking for the long. And it's just basically like the same entry that we had before. If we break and close above this trend line, it would need 119 to do it. Look for the play back into VWAP, a very tight entry there on Palantir if we're able to get it. Your Intel's doing absolutely fine. And then SMCI, there is VWAP. It took a minute, and by a minute, I mean all morning, for it to get back into VWAP. It's making the bounce now. If it can close above VWAP, I'll take another shot at it. 53 has been supported on SMCI. Remember, it's 1 week today that the deadline expires for them to report their numbers. So this is a relief rally on SMCI. At any moment, you know, profit taking can always come into this stock. So I want to make sure we close above VWAP here. No falling knives. I want it bouncing and then play the bounce when you know that you've got some buyers out in front of you for sure.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one to keep an eye on. Volatility definitely, like I said earlier this morning, on the horizon for that ticker. And I'm curious to know if they don't report, are they still going to continue trading? Do they immediately stop trading? I think we were kind of talking about that earlier this morning, Neil, and we have to kind of figure that out, whether or what happens in that scenario, and whether or not there's potential opportunities around that scenario, right? If we do kind of break back below, or sorry, if they don't really report, and do they get halted until they report? Who knows? But SMCI is definitely one to watch on that one. There a little bit of a pullback here happening on Intel, coming back into 2580s. So we're going to continue watching this one here. But market finally catching a little bit of a bid here, Neil. So with only about a minute left on this 15-minute candle to print, we're finally looking like we might be catching a bit of a bid here and maybe attempting to print green on this current 15-minute candle here on the market. So let's see if we can catch a bit of wind there, tailwind is what I mean, on some of these other tickers there. Let's see if the bid can come back in on Intel, but still chopping around that 26 mark as of right now, Neil. So nothing too crazy just yet, but with the market taking a little bit of a pullback, let's take a quick look at what is potentially catching a bid. Obviously, the spider, a little bit of a bid happening there. Amazon, maybe not really too much. Tesla still within its opening range. Apple within its opening range. Softy still within its opening range. We were talking about opening range breaks. NVIDIA actually broke to the downside as of right now, but holding some of its pre-market consolidation is NVIDIA. So let's see if that can hold a little bit longer here. But yeah, this candle right here we go, 3, 2, 1. We just closed green, Neil, the first green candle of the day on both the ES and the NASDAQ after the open.
It happened.
Just happened.
It's finally happened. So obviously, maybe we're getting that reversion. We'll see. Hey, there's an SMC in Toronto that if I hit enter too fast when I'm typing in SMCI, it comes up as a 1-cent stock. SMCI bouncing off VWAP as we speak. I wanted to get one more bid in here, a little bit tighter. There we go. To that support level. So just going to scalp some out and see if we can't get a better price in here underneath the 40 level as SMCI is making that bounce off VWAP. I want to try to respect, like the prior trend broke. I always like to leave that kind of a trend line in, like when you get like a bull flag-ish type trend and fail of a high, leave the trend line in, and if it respects it in the other direction, play that scalp trade from here into 54.5 on SMCI. The other trend break we're looking for was Palantir, and it's finally, I mean, it's trying to catch a bid again. So the last time it did this, we were able to get a quick little long, not fast enough to have been able to capture what was like an 80-cent move. But if it can close above this 119, then you've got a trend reversion as well here happening on Palantir. Could also go red to green. Wouldn't take much. We closed at 119.16, so it's right in here that this would go red to green on Palantir. Didn't mean for that to rhyme. That said, be careful. Even as I'm saying that, the market's retracing to the lows. NVIDIA just broke its low of the day. But never fear, everybody.
Oh boy.
Because our good friend from the OTC markets, Jeff Mendel, is here. First of all, Jeff, how is the weather doing? Because basically, like everyone and their mother's getting too much snow up in here. So I'm very curious to see how it's been going for you down south.
Well, I mean, on the other side of the lake from you guys, we're getting all the lake effect snow that's blowing over the top of you and dumping onto, upstate New York. So I'm not complaining about that. Sunny skies here in New York, though. High temperature of 15 degrees Fahrenheit. So, negative Celsius. But overall pretty good.
Hate over there, negative Celsius. So look, Jeff. We've had all kinds of overnight news. It seems like every day there's a rumor on like Intel, or you're getting movement on Tesla because there's some Doge headline. So I know a lot of traders are looking for those opportunities in the aftermarket. So how has the moon rollout been going for OTC? Because I know that's a big one, and we're a headline-driven market right now, and we have earnings season. So it's been a good time of year for you guys to have that startup on Moon.
Yeah, so we are taking off on Moon here. So we have a few trades in there every night. People doing some testing, but we'll have every NMS or almost every NMS listed symbol in there in the next week or two. So we should start to really see some traction. I was actually over in Seoul and Hong Kong last week talking about it because there's a lot of activity that generates from the overnight U.S. market out of that region, out of those two places, and so lots of buzz going on, lots of excitement, and really should start seeing this thing take off here in the next couple of weeks. So we're excited.
Yeah, that's what we love to see. Traders. We just want a chip in the chair, and that's what it's all about. Having that chip in the chair, the market never sleeps, and now all of a sudden you have that opportunity. Though, to switch almost gears a quick little second, you have the opportunity on some names like the Asian names to trade 24/7, and we've talked about this before. There's still other opportunities traditionally at OTC, especially with this recovery in some of the Chinese ADRs. So what's hot right now for you guys this morning? I know we've been focused on a lot of these tech names that are flying around here, but what's been hot so far on the OTC just today?
There was actually a lot of talk about that as well too last week, and especially out of Hong Kong. A lot of these firms are looking to trade DIY again, DD, Luckin Coffee, LKNCY, right? Because there's no local listing over there, and so we're the place where these names kind of come to where those two names come to trade, and so we're going to see a lot more traction, with that 24/5 in these names, Tencent, TCEHY, which is always one of the most active names. Also, Sean's not on, but got a shout out to his Nintendo, NTDOY. Lots of questions about, being able to trade that. Kind of all, that full cycle. And so, all these names are, at the top of our most active page here, even today, right, at OTCmarkets.com as well. And so BYD, we always talk about BYDDY, right, another one right there. SoftBank SFTBY, another great one to kind of look at. And so, definitely, definitely great names to, kind of be introduced to that 24/5 market.
And just for anyone that hasn't seen that Tencent chart, I mean, like Baba or like some of these other names, like not only has it been trending up, I mean, it's now, what is that, 50% from the mid-January it's up and breaking out on the daily chart. If you just quickly come to my chart here, this is what Tencent looks like. So this is obviously in the midst of a breakout. We always talk about Alibaba and some of the other Chinese ADRs, but that's absolutely flying around there. for sure. And the other point that you just made about like Nintendo always moves around earnings there, Jeff, and the opportunity to sort of trade that one after you get the numbers released is a good one. I can tell you that my daughter would be interested in Nintendo stock because she loves her Switch a lot. Lots of opportunities always out there. My goodness, her Switch saved us. I was on a train for 12 hours yesterday, Jeff, supposed to be 5.5. And if it was not for the charged Nintendo Switch, I'm not sure what would have happened.
There we go. NTDOI.
Yeah.
There we go. So actually, I want to switch focus a little bit here, and so out of Europe, and so a ton of European ADRs trade at OTC markets, and with all the news that's coming around about what's going on in the Ukraine, especially in the defense sector as well too. There's kind of two big names out there that you typically, like here in the U.S., you hear about like Lockheed Martin, right? Big U.S. defense company. But BAE Systems, ticker BAESY here at OTC Markets. Definitely an ADR to kind of take a look at. It's up 10% today. It's trading around $68, and so lots of news is going to be coming out over the next few weeks around the Ukraine, what's going on in Ukraine. Also, with the Trump administration saying that possibly they may not be seeing the defense backing as much out of the U.S. And so, European defense company BAESY, definitely one to take a look at. Also Saab as well too, SAABY, another one to kind of take a look at. That's up 16% today, trading at around over $13. And so, kind of keep an eye on those. And so, that once again, that kind of with that 24/5 cycle as well too, not just trading here in the daytime, but as news starts to come out, take a look at those European names. Don't want to forget about those.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, again, and thank you so much. That's a good point that I don't think a lot of people are paying as much attention to. We get sort of hung up on the high volume Chinese ADRs, which are always going to give us opportunities out there. But shout out to you for pointing out BAE and Saab, both those looking like fantastic opportunities. Before we get you out of here, I got one last question for you, Jeff. I know you know what time of year it is in the NFL where people start talking about what's going to go on in the draft or what's not going to go on in the draft. I've heard some rumors again about you guys getting the cheetah. And I just want to say from the outset, good luck with that if you guys end up with Tyreek Hill. I'm just going to throw that out there. No hate at all.
I mean, Dak's still going to have to throw it to him in the postseason. And so we know how that goes. So it's like, I don't know what to get excited for anymore, to be honest. It's just one thing after the next. Okay, if we get him, hopefully it makes it to the stadium and doesn't get pulled over. I probably shouldn't be making jokes like that. But listen,
yeah, you should.
It would be awesome to have him. We need a weapon like that. We need someone to kind of, Dak needs help. That's it. And Dak needs more help than, anyone could ever imagine, I think. But, yeah, we'll see.
See, and this is the best part about it. You guys have the successful launch coming. OTC is doing fantastic, Jeff. So despite the fact that the Cowboys don't look very good this year, things are definitely looking up for you. Our good friend, head of broker dealer sales at OTC Markets, Mr. Jeff Mendel. Good luck with those Cowboys, but so thankful that we have this moon to be able to trade in the aftermarket.
I'm going to have to become like a rugby fan or something because I can't switch to the Bills. I can't switch to anything like that. But, oh, my God, it's just painful.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can, Jeff.
I can? Oh,
yes,
okay.
you can.
Uh-huh.
Yes, you can.
Toronto's football team, the Buffalo Bills.
It's 100% true. There's 15,000 Canadians strong usually going down to Buffalo to check out those games. Someday I'll take you there, and we should just have an absolute blast when you see a real team with some real fans that don't just latch on to a dynasty because they're America's team. Thank you so much.
Can we switch to hockey real quick? Can we talk about the Four Nations face-off here?
What happened? Hockey? We talk about hockey.
I think we need. No offense, Obi, but I think we need Katina on here for the.
I have no words for the sports, man. I'm listening. I'm enjoying the talk. Like I've heard what happened with the recent hockey match. That was interesting stuff nonetheless. But
I think your little fail button is there's something wrong with it.
Yeah,
It keeps popping up on the screen. But I will say this: I'll give you guys some credit. I think the first fight of the game, I think, was a draw. We'll give it to you.
Okay.
I know everyone's reporting how we won. We also beat you in every fight. We'll give you a draw.
Kachuk was like twice his size.
You get a draw.
Look, first of all, y'all had fighters on the ice, and we didn't have fighters on the ice. Like, what do you expect? Of course, you guys won those fights. Did you see who was? Anyways, I was in.
It's all about preparation. Listen, we prepared.
It's always about preparation. That's one thing I can agree with.
Okay, how about this?
We were ready.
Okay, Jeff.
Speaking of, this isn't a fair fight right now. We don't have Katina on here. Maybe I'll bring in my in-house, NHL specialist as well too. But to be
That's
continued
cold,
in the finals, I think too.
And it will be
coming up on Thursday.
Yeah, we are in the finals. So how about this, Jeff? Straight up, Canada, USA. What's the bet? Because I'll rep Canada straight up. I mean, you can rep the USA if you want. And we can think of the term. You guys in the chat, throw ideas into the chat as to what Jeff has to do when Canada beats the USA and what I have to do if the USA beats Canada in the finals of the Four Nations Cup. And we can settle it.
Pizza with only pineapples laid out.
Let's figure it out.
We have a deal. Send over the list. Send me the top 10.
Yeah, we'll get some ideas in the chat. And we'll send it to them. We'll come up with some ideas.
We want the in the top 10. We want the 5 ones that'll never happen, but maybe should, and the 5 ones that could happen as well too.
Okay, I'm down with that.
Yeah, perfect.
Should be interesting.
There is. It's always fun.
We'll see you guys.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll see you guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much, there, Jeff. Appreciate you. Okay, the other thing too is I actually didn't mention this. So I was in Montreal this weekend. Okay, let me get just very quickly. Palantir did the mean reversion, broke prior high 112. It just got to 119, just got to 120. So we did get that trend into 120. I'm looking for the next either break trend underneath, under prior bar, or we get to VWAP here, 121.5. As a matter of fact, let's just throw the target in there just in case we get it. So if we break prior bar, I'm out on Palantir. So I was in Montreal, and we were going to Montreal for other reasons. Like we just it was a long weekend here and want to take our daughter there. She's learning French in school. They speak, obviously, French out in Quebec. If you're not from here, you wouldn't know that. And we realized, hey, we're going at the same time the hockey's being played. So at our hotel, there was a few Americans at the hotel who were clearly very happy at the outcome. Right. They were feeling themselves a little bit. So it's all in good fun. I think it's great that we have a good rivalry in hockey. It's always, I think sports brings out the best. And I'm going to say this. We try not to talk politics. I'm really not a fan of booing anybody's national anthem. And the reason why I'm against it has nothing to do with, look, you want to have a rivalry, you want to have XY going on. Anybody that ever gets a chance to represent their country, regardless of the level or regardless of the amount of times that you've done it, that anthem is something to them. My wife was a few years ago, she was at the age group world championships for a triathlon. And they didn't do a ceremony where they got to hear the flag or anything, but they got to walk in their Team Canada uniforms. And in every country, you're walking in your procession together. And I can only imagine what it would have been like if somebody decided for the protest they wanted to boo as she was going past. And I would have been pretty peeved because that moment is for them. And I know they're pros and they probably heard the anthem a million times. I think it'd just be a heck of a lot cooler if you could just sort of respect that moment for the athletes and find another way to be able to protest. Again, that's just my 2 cents. I don't speak for all Canadians in that one. But I just felt like I need to say, because it kind of always bugs me, and I know some professional athletes that kind of feel the same way about that. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Palantir trying to make that bounce. The market trying to make that bounce. It's 11 o'clock. We will be back at 2, Obi and I. But let's kick it to the Bash Brothers, who are going to knock it out of the park with GCL apparently. Go Sharif.
Okay, all right.
Guys already know I'm in GCL. What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade During the Midday. That's your boy Joey Options. He's only with us for one day today. Then he's